You know what? I came in here thinking that Marcus was gonna be like, "Yeah, everything's great," and he's been a fucking negative Nancy the whole time.
Yeah.
He won't even drink our fucking
up for the podcast.
Yes, but we have glasses, so we shall raise the glasses.
Let us cheers to the season finale of
season
2, the None of Our Business podcast. Yo, I want to thank all of you for being here.
Salud.
Hey. Our plastic glasses.
All right, bring out the male strippers.
You're already here.
I know.
So here we go. Welcome all to episode 50 of the None of Our Business podcast. We are your hosts, Philly fanatic, peace easy, philanthropy, philosophy, sane silent tempo.
That's a lot of names.
I know. We got Keenan Duncan, CNN Dunkaroos, C-section. You son of a bitch.
You were riding me the whole way?
C4. And I'm Joe.
Just Joe.
Today, we have some of our nearest and dearest.
This is true.
Some of our favorite guests have joined us.
Other guests were definitely not our favorites.
Yeah.
I didn't say that.
The reason why you say that first is because then you get it out of the way because you know they're listening going, wait, I wasn't invited to this?
And now you know the reason.
But then you realize the lengths that we've gone to see if we can even muster to the courage to record an episode like this. We've got.
I know we've kind of Frankenstein the situation. We have a couple of room mics. We have our regular standard mics, and we're just hoping that this works out.
So yes, thank you for coming to the podcast.
Thank you. So we're gonna run down the table and introduce everyone.
Yes.
I actually, instead of me introducing you guys, I'd like you guys to introduce yourselves.
I know.
might be missing some stuff.
Do
No touching of the face or.
I'll tell you guys why I was yelling order a second ago. As I monitor this, when everybody starts going, it sounds like the intro to "This Is How We Do It." Okay,
Which is great.
This is how we do it. This is how we do it.
But I know you guys know that annoying intro where it's just like people talking at a party, and you're like, okay, and you always skip to the beginning, which is really the.
I never skip.
I actually like the talking part.
Specifically.
It's one of my favorite parts of the record.
There you go.
It makes me feel like I'm at a party.
Yeah. And we are at a party. Here to the party of the
To
new.
the-
We technically are at a party.
One more time, yeah.
This is case
Like every
All
5
right, so
minutes.
then fuck you guys. I'll run down the line.
And
We
male
got Ray.
occupation,
What?
interest, call sign, and
Do you want to do this?
no.
Okay. then.
No. I think we should just pass the buck and let people.
And the blunt.
Hey, well, we don't have it. No. At this space, because there are people who listen, that's important. I clarify.
okay.
There is no blunts being passed around.
Just for
There is no marijuana in this establishment.
Just crackers.
Just crackers. Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, so I'll go down the line. We have Ray El Barbone Ramirez
Hey.
here with us. We got Nerline.
Oh, you said it with an accent. That was cute.
Thank you. I mean, you're proud of me.
Nerline. Yeah, Nerline. Jean.
Nerline Jean.
Hey.
How come I didn't get an A? How are you?
We may not be respected on this.
We got Sheila Starciani. We got Patrick Ward. We got Sean
Hyosung Park.
Parquita.
Hey,
El Capo.
That's his
Park.
eye.
that is true. He is there.
And we got Marcus Aurelius.
Holy shit.
We got Marcus.
Damn.
At least you're on time this time, Joe.
That's right.
For a year, what I got here.
He was super late. Mark was the first one.
That's pretty
Oh,
positive.
he's pretty popular. Yeah.
Positive.
Come on. Oh, positive. Okay. You can be as positive.
Well, he gave you props for being here on time.
Did we introduce Keenan?
Of course.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
I mean,
No.
Because
We
Keith's the
can.
guy that won't actually interrupt us
I'm
or
a
tell
part
us
of-
that we ignored him.
you know what? I'm gonna interrupt you
When he
right.
introduced the host.
Yeah, when I would introduce the host, I was like, yo,
Yeah.
We actually
Keenan, your
remembered
vote
it this
does
time.
count.
But I did
your vote does count.
No, it does.
Wow, so thanks for joining us, guys. This is new. This is a new situation that we're trying out.
It'll be a lead up to our live event at the Staples Center.
Nice.
So.
Oh, this is this is great.
That's the hope. That's the hope. We brought a bunch of little finger foods, so some of you have already tapped into it, and I'm
Ooh, there's pie.
Brought some candy. I want to just take some credit.
There's only one kid on
Don't
this
nobody
podcast,
wants you to
right?
buy
Aurelius brought candy.
Ain't no Snickers in here. That's the problem. The Snickers is an
Reese's
expensive
Cups.
bag. That's the reason why there's no Snickers in here.
He's like, oh, he went with the
You got
Whoppers.
the bag below the Snickers. You know with the
If I may
The ones
interrupt,
on sale.
I'm the first person that didn't bring any candy. Oh,
Objection, Your
I
Honor.
am the candy, so.
Hey, what's your flavor though?
So.
She is the candy. I like that. I like that a lot.
I'm listening to this thinking, how the fuck am I going to edit this?
You'll do good. I
You're
believe
gonna
in
do a
you.
great job.
It's going to be one of those where people are going to be like,
Yeah.
that sounded like a hell of a party.
It is
You
a
had
hell
to
of a
be
party.
there.
Yes. I know. Why wasn't I invited?
You know what I
People
just
love her
realized
shit.
also though?
What's that?
Is we could have totally used our phones and like, you know, and like just had everybody submit like
That's
their
right.
audio
Who has their
recording.
phone on them?
No, because then you get interrupted by a call or a text or something like that.
Airplane mode?
Do not disturb.
Nobody's gonna put their phone on airplane mode here. We all are individuals who have our businesses,
Speaking of which,
and
though,
careers.
please put all your phones on vibrate or silent for the time
Yeah,
saving.
yeah.
The emergency exits are to your left here.
I've already done so. It's not responsible.
Your seats are a flotation device.
Please put your seat backs forward.
Stow your
Welcome.
tray tables.
International lover.
So I mean, I'm glad y'all made it. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you guys had your own things that you were doing.
You're busy people. We understand.
Look at this dais. Nobody had anything to do tonight,
I
man.
mean, yeah, some people do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you
Some
think this is
people-
what a roast is like? Like, you know, when they have the Comedy Central
Why are you
roast?
starting that now? Come on. Can we just ease into it?
No.
It's not gonna happen.
The
Kid.
reason why is because I feel like I did enough foreplay in the beginning while we were all warming up.
I gave
that's
you
true.
2 minutes of foreplay.
Hey,
That's not enough.
I thought you said 3. You were 3.
3 minutes of
Definitely didn't
total
count.
time. 2 minutes of foreplay. 1
So
minute of
what's-
just really.
And you know, I don't know if you know this, but the foreplay starts with the eye contact, man.
hey,
That's why I look at you when I talk to you.
dead in your eyes.
I was about to say that's why Keenan looks at no one.
Just look at the ground. Okay. All right. I'm gonna make sure I come back
not
to
gonna do
everybody on
it.
this table, especially you, Patrick.
He's like, I'm looking at you, Patrick. Dead at you.
Damn, that was fucked up.
Yeah.
That was hurtful.
Damn, I wish there was a scoreboard. You know,
Should be a scoreboard.
I'd break the
shots
score.
fired.
One for Patrick.
Speaking of candy. Now this is something I wanted to talk about before the podcast because it kind of piqued my interest and it's something that I've been thinking about, but I've never really had a conversation about. So Marcus brought some candy to the table. He has a variety of chocolate-based candies.
You ain't got no Snickers.
Yeah, there you go.
That's because Snickers is a
Ain't no
prize item.
Twix.
You know,
Ain't no
they
Snickers.
went for
Ain't
the
no
Snickers.
Butterfinger.
He's like, all the Snickers are.
He's like, maybe it's season 3.
But I'm gonna let you continue.
Not even a baby
I'm gonna let you
Oh,
do
yeah.
your thing.
Baby.
Not
Baby
even a
Ruth.
I
baby.
hear a lot of
Yeah.
bickering from people who just showed up.
Okay. So let me get to the topic here that
Fair enough.
I'm trying to get to. Okay, so you brought the candy. You said that you and your neighbors actually get together and give out the candy for the kids, right? Or how does
My
that work?
neighbors typically do.
Okay.
So I just moved to Long Beach.
Okay.
And
Hey, shout
my
outs.
neighbor John, who I always see in passing, like stopped me, said, "Hey, we're gonna be passing out candy. I don't know what you're doing tonight." I was like, I don't think I want to do that, John. To be honest. But then I went to the store and I was like, "This is an
Thought about the kids.
opportunity to like connect with my neighbors,
Yeah.
the people who are surrounding me,
Right.
and like bond and get to know them." So I just bought like a bag of Snickers. Actually,
Oh.
I actually bought a bag of Snickers.
I want to see the receipt.
Actually, it's on my phone.
Social media, it's not real.
Yeah, no.
And yeah, we sat outside and just passed out candy to like 10 kids that walked past.
See, now that's dope to me because if you live in a building, especially like a building that has like a lot of units in it, it doesn't happen. And then another thing that usually happens is like you're restricted to like children can't come to your building because especially if you live like in a gated building, they can't come to you because you know you're unit 505 out of 200 units. So no, that's what I'm saying. That's what was dope. That
This is
you and your
Hong
neighbors, that you and your neighbors actually got together and actually went down and distributed
So you're
candy.
wishing
Well,
you
like,
had
You live
I
in a
don't-
house or an apartment?
I don't live in like a apartment complex. It's like a
Well, then-
quadplex.
Oh, okay. Well, see then, but that's something that I think about as well because you know I want to give out candy to the kids, and I know that the kids aren't going to approach our building because it's a gated building. I know. I'm trying to be nice.
I just want to give out candy to the kids.
Just coming up around.
They're ignorant.
No, but it's another dope thing that you're doing because you're actually getting to know your neighbors by distributing candy.
I like that point though because how many of us really know our neighbors?
Yeah.
I mean, essentially,
Try to.
I just don't hang out with
Really
them.
trying.
I know.
to me, it's just practice. Like when I do buy a piece of property, and I do feel like the people around me are either going to be the first ones to protect or respond, or to be on the lookout for when I have kids,
Or to
as we
take your
spoke about.
TV, you know what I mean?
Or
You
take
know
my
what I mean?
TV, and then I know where to go first.
I knew I brought him over the other day.
Someone else in the neighborhood will let you know that someone in the neighborhood took your TV.
Exactly.
I heard you got robbed.
If you're cool with everyone.
Keenan has a perfect example of that because he actually has a neighbor who is pretty much the neighborhood watch.
Yes, we have two.
Sits out,
They
yeah.
just sit outside. And the woman next door that you met, and then a guy across the street, and they pretty much just watch the whole block.
How old are they?
Yeah. They're in their 50s, 60s.
So they're like our next door, like all day long. On the next door app.
Well, he's actually at night. When I come home at like 2-3 in the morning, for certain personal reasons.
Wow.
I got paid. It's okay. I got paid. So
Let everybody know he just breezed past that. Focus on that. We'll bring it back.
As if him coming home at 2 or 3 in the morning was even being
Right.
questioned.
It's not that
Like
late.
nobody really cared.
I cared. I know.
No, but continue.
well, the thing was,
I was genuinely worried.
he's actually in his car watching the street or watching something. He's a person that is consciously awake.
Ever
that can
vigilant.
see
He
things.
sounds like an old guy who's got nothing to do, and he's like, you know what? I'm gonna start a neighborhood. That way, I'm not just a creepy old guy.
Oh yeah.
Here's the funny thing that Ray will probably join him at some point.
I mean, yeah. When I got nothing to do,
You're gonna come to my
I'm
neighborhood.
serious, I look around. I'm just like,
But
seen that car on the
that
block
brings it
before.
full circle to like the first time we had Sean on, and he started talking about how the idea of community and how once he found LAFC and the whole thing, and he invited all of us. So Joe was really the one that
Joe took-
I still feel bad that I still have yet to go to one, but the idea of community is big. It's big, and we make fun of people they got nothing better to do, and so they start doing that. But I mean, damn, how many of us really reach out and connect to people? I often hear people complain about how they don't have quality friends or they don't have quality, they don't have, but they never themselves go out of their own way to connect with people.
Is community big across the seas as well? Like what Philly's talking about?
Well, I've sort of seen this sort of transition,
I
and
just
I
wanna
think
hear
this
you
is
talk all day.
what's happened.
We didn't even introduce.
Where Marcus said that, it's just the way I am. It's
Yeah.
like, but increasingly what used to be the case where, kids, riding your bikes around to the local school was a common thing that I did. My parents didn't particularly care where I was. They knew I was with friends. But then this fear of other has really become more and more pervasive.
Oh, yeah.
For the US than it is in Australia?
No, I think both.
I
Both
think so.
cultures are very, very similar in that way, and that everyone's sort of like hunkering to themselves. Whereas, like you say, if there's an incident in your local neighborhood, if you know your neighbors, then you have people to reach out to and connect to.
Isn't that amazing though? Like you're saying the fear of others, but in an age where we're more connected than ever before,
Are we?
We still no, but technically we are.
That's what he's saying.
Digitally, we're all connected. We could all be 100 miles away from each other, and we're still connected because I could call you easily. I could Skype you or
you know what's funny?
Unless you screen his calls.
Yeah, exactly.
In the first place, and so as my nerdness, I did this paper when I was in school about globalism, and like I was like, it's not great. You know, it's great in some ways, but a lot of people are globalization and like global, all of everything, where everything's coming to the point where we're not meant to know this many people. So when we've got 1,000 people, 2,000 people on our friends list that we never actually met, then you start seeing stuff popping up in your feeds that, I don't know, my little burlesque community is block, cancel culture crazy. And they're like, oh, I don't like what you said. Oh, you look like you're supporting Trump. Oh, I'm blocking you, to the point where we're always going to figure out a way to find our tribe.
But that's a
It's
culture.
The fear of other. There's always, and I feel like if people would recognize that that's natural, like for us, the fear of other is very real because
I'm afraid of all of you, by the way.
back in times, like someone from another group is going to kill us.
right.
So it's still ingrained in our genetics to like fear what we don't know, what we see, and the other group.
And it's
I feel like once you recognize that and you accept it, which a lot of people hate when I say that, and I'm like, but it's true. Now deal with the truth and adjust yourself to it. Right. Then you'll stop doing that.
Has everyone here blocked somebody on Instagram?
absolutely.
I have, but
I
it
blocked
takes
you
a
like
lot.
3
Like
times.
block
already.
people that you actually know, or someone that you
Right.
don't
So
know?
not even block, maybe even just unfollow.
I have recently had to start.
Did that
Somebody
door
knocking
close
on the
by
door?
itself?
Just a clean house.
Is somebody knocking on the
Is
door?
it
No.
creepy? Is that gate coming through? Oh.
Something hit over there.
Oh.
I'm not sure.
Well, you'll protect me, right?
Trust me, you're
It's a
gonna.
community right here. You guys have my back.
Just a clean house.
No, but I remember.
Sorry,
But
nerd.
it's somebody not.
Somebody's there.
Just keep going. I
Feel this guy.
So I remember when I was younger, I used to be able to like. My parents didn't have a fear of me going anywhere. Like I could go, I could walk to school, and school was a mile away. It was not even a big deal. Now, like I'm fearful of my son going to school by himself, and he's 2 blocks from school. Like it's crazy. Go ahead.
Okay, well, why is that?
The climate has changed so much more.
Okay, then
Do you believe in climate change?
what about your
just the door mechanism trying to lock, and I guess there's like wind or some shit.
Okay.
What about your neighborhood makes you so fearful?
Nothing for me. It's nothing.
But you said you're worried about your
But it's
son.
more. It nothing about the neighborhood, but the commuters is what's a little more that what puts me more on high alert.
I'm just gonna
Because
unlock the door.
where we live, like traffic gets so condensed, and it's like people. It's crazy.
I get you.
But it's weird because I'm pretty sure that it hasn't changed much from when I was a kid. 20 years, 25 years ago. But my parents just felt. I don't know. They probably just felt.
You'll be all right.
I think
Yes.
there's definitely more traffic.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely more people
Yeah, I
in
can see
cars
that, yeah.
commuting and going fast down streets, and that is the thing that I'm most fearful of with my kids.
I think it's just fear.
Oh,
I think it's just
But,
natural.
but like
fear.
when other people start talking about, oh, but kidnapping, I'm like, we are not less safe. Our kids are not less safe. We just
Now than
hear
before,
about
yeah.
everybody's damn kid that we would have never heard about disappearing.
Right.
And
Hence
so
the
it's like-
connectivity now that we have
That's
thousands.
big media.
Yeah, it's media. It's that 24
proliferates
hour.
to-
And who was that one chick with the whitish blonde hair with the accent who was like, she was all dead babies all day long. I can't like.
Wait, is this
that
on
was
the
10
news?
years
Wait,
ago.
what?
She was a news lady, but she was like all for about 10 years ago. She made a whole career over just
Oh,
like
you're
those like
talking
that.
about,
I don't know her
HLN,
damn.
right?
Huh?
She's on the HLN or something.
Yeah, something like that. Headline news.
Some
Yeah.
You guys
underground
watch
thing
TV?
was that-
Well, I was a journalism major, so I watched a lot of it back then.
Okay.
Just because I
Yeah.
had to. But this chick made me mad because there was like Kaylee Martin or something, and that was
She
her
had a
whole
southern
career
accent.
where the mom I can't listen to that shit because I'm like, I don't understand why you're, blasting all of this hurtful shit all over everyone in the world, and it's someone's lost a child, so
But sadly, it's because Herd gets the traction and the clicks and the outrage. and evokes that
It's a way of
emotion.
connecting.
Right,
in a
as
sense.
opposed to everything was fine today. That's not interesting.
Nobody's gonna care. You know?
But when you think about also with the connection, and I feel like we're all connected, but still disconnected at the same
That's
time.
where I was getting at.
And it's almost like
That's
we're
right, Nelly.
desensitized.
Yep.
Got you.
That's right.
There you go.
Yeah, there's no clicks allowed.
Desensitized to a lot of, because we hear so much bad news all the time, where we connect for that moment, but then disconnect right away.
And that's where you were talking about. You were saying that there's
Afterward.
people on the other side when we have those comments on our podcast
Yeah.
about the crazy stuff happening in the U.S. or is there going to be a rebellion of some sort? You're saying no way because people in Washington
We're
don't
too
care about people in
disconnected.
Florida.
Well, the Rebel Alliance lives.
It's actually called the Resistance now.
It's a bit early for a Star Wars reference.
It's
Nerds.
interesting what
It's
you
a
were
trap.
saying
Are
about
you doing this?
kids.
Come on, man.
I'm sorry. One more time, Emily. I couldn't hear you. I couldn't hear what you were saying.
I wanted to go back to your kids, and that's the reason why I asked where you were from, because in Miami, it's that fear is real. Even with
'Cause of the
our blocks
alligators?
being so
Alligators,
no.
No, it's because of Florida, man.
Right. Florida
Florida in
is
general.
and
Jacksonville all
fun
day.
fact.
Drop us some knowledge.
Bad Boys. What was it? Was it Bad?
Bad Boys.
Bad Boys was actually the first episode was originally made in
Oh,
Florida.
Bad Boys. Oh.
The movie.
wait.
The show.
Oh, Cops.
Cops.
Yeah.
That's what it's
Cops.
called.
Bad
Bad
Boys.
Boys, Bad Boys.
What you done? Wait, what? We all know this. It's an interesting fact here.
But I say that to say, you guys ever remember the Jimmy Rice story? I think that's what it's called, Jimmy Rice story.
Rice.
The kid, right?
Oh,
The kid,
yes.
Jimmy Rice.
Not that one,
No?
but this was like an old,
So there's a
like
lot of these happening.
1990s
Florida.
where a kid in Florida, he got kidnapped, and that was like
Torture and
cut up, and
Yeah.
Oh,
it was horrible. And it was around Halloween time, like around that time. And so a lot of like my mom especially was big, like we don't trick or treat, we don't do that. And people were finding like
shit.
razor blades and candies and stuff. Like
So we got the trickle off of that here, but no one ever found razor blades in Canada.
Yeah, I've never.
Right.
Yeah, no.
I don't know anybody who's had candy that's
Yeah,
laced or
yeah,
razor
yeah,
blades.
yes, they used to lace what's those candies? The sugar
Jolly
candies.
Ranchers?
No, the
Oh, sweet tarts, like
sweet
the
tart
little- yeah,
candies
yeah,
that
yeah.
comes like in the
that powder.
little
sweet
pecans.
In that roll?
Those are
the
my
little
shit,
roll.
though, by the way.
You used to get it like
Wait, so we can hide cocaine in that?
I mean, no, people use.
Asking for a
That's actually a cute way
It's
to
a public
Always
podcast.
brought about fear,
Right.
and especially with all the school shootings and things that's happening.
It's another fear, yeah.
It's understandable why, even though back in the day your family allowed you to be free falling in a sense,
Hell yeah.
but you are a little bit more
Yeah.
scared because every moment you hear a mass shooting here and mass shooting there, and mind you could live in Burbank and somebody from I don't know where part of LA can come and rob your house and you won't even know who did it because they came way to Burbank to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Right,
saying? Like I had a friend who has his family and they robbed his house. Thankfully his family wasn't home, but it was he has cameras and it was people that weren't even from around here.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
You know what I'm saying? And you think you
That happened because our trash cans got stolen.
whose trash can got stolen?
We had to order 2 new trash cans
Damn.
because
That
Sons
was
of
a
bitches.
Struggle is real.
I bet you it was your neighbor.
Hey, give me the trash can.
some real shit. I'm serious.
I bet you.
No, I believe it. I believe it.
Glasses to Keenan's trash can.
Pour one out. Pour one out.
R.I.P. I really
That's an example.
suspect
It's an
that
example.
He doesn't.
that what we're getting at. I think a lot, especially with the extreme cases. I mean, there was a statistic, and you know how I mean, everyone's like iffy about statistics, but this shit was alarming to read that 1 in 4 Americans, adult Americans,
It better not be about kids, bro. You're
no,
gonna scare the shit out of me right
they don't have a confidant, a real friend, not even one.
now. I can see that.
I thought
And
you were my real friend.
so you have this whole culture of people. I mean, it's comparing their lives to other people on social media. And let's say you're the one person from high school or college who never really got to be a part of a group, never really got to have even a close friend. And you're looking at these people, you're looking at your life. Maybe you fucking hate your job too because you couldn't find in your soul the gumption to dig out and carve out some kind of mastery over something. So then you go around hating every fucking body else. And it's usually those people who blame other people for their fucking problems, for not having a community, for not having a skill, for not having a talent, or for not even having a character that people can. You don't have to be good looking, you know what I mean? The minute you build a strong enough character, people fucking love you anyways, you know? But it's like, it's that kind of personality that is creating a lot of these fucking like mass shootings, and that they may not even have psychological, and I know I'm like jumping to conclusions, but they may not even have psychological problems to begin with.
That's kind of like the Joker. That's kind of like the.
Oh, some of us haven't seen that movie.
Okay, well, I mean, I'm sorry. It's been out for I'm sorry.
Spoiler alert.
I'm sorry. We had this conversation yesterday.
I think Pat, you were going to interject, right? You were.
Don't try to divert.
just keep going.
No, you're good. You're good.
No, but
Yeah, and I wasn't gonna say anything about the movie, but I'm just saying that's kind of like the message that it kind of like, you know, it's.
That's something that people have noted about it, that they're trying to say. Well, partially they're trying to say that his behavior is justified because
we created
a lot of the things that happen to him.
It's kind of the bullshit.
Because of
We
society.
throw a lot of gasoline on stuff like that.
We
you know?
do.
Like people like that who have like, I mean, because not everybody. Because I feel like, as far as socializing, I feel like it's a skill. Not everybody has that skill,
Right.
and you can't just make friends.
Having said that, this comes back to Joe's earlier point of we
We'll get
now
back to you, right?
are more connected and have abilities to find those tribes.
Yeah.
So with a little bit of gumption, you can find a community. Like
You're a community leader.
Right. I've got a friend of mine who, and this is where I understand, like obviously most community like events are tilted, at least traditionally speaking, towards extroverts. Right.
Sure.
And I've always been an
Right.
extrovert. But I've had a friend of mine who's always been an introvert, but known he needs to get out there more. And I've taken him with me to events and as a trusted person. And I've seen him really come out of his shell and start to really integrate himself with the
It's a
local
cultural thing, yeah.
tech community, right? So there are, at the same time, I'm saying that we shouldn't, vilify people who don't have communities.
Which is what I was doing.
But we do.
We do.
Yeah.
We certainly should.
Yeah.
We should embrace them. But
Just
we
like,
also need to recognize that there is a little bit of personal responsibility on
That's what I'm trying to say.
To find
100%.
our communities.
That's right. So all of you making fun of me tonight.
Wait, what?
Kiss my black ass.
Oh,
Sorry.
he's still drawing
You
the
can't
line.
just.
All right, dude, did I just hear the victim cry?
Next thing you know, Keenan's gonna go home and he's gonna be like, "What? They don't like me." Who said that? I said that. Oh
Start
God!
putting paint on my face. Fuckers.
Oh Jesus!
It's. I mean, and
Who said that?
I understand. It can be incredibly tough to. Okay, because I'm 35. So
We're talking about mental health here, right? We're talking about mental health.
but just not just mental health though, because we're talking about bullying,
Socializing, yeah.
not necessarily socializing and
Yeah.
being able to be part of something.
And recognizing who you are.
Exactly,
Kind of
but
person you are.
look, it's increasingly it gets increasingly harder and harder the older you get to find new friends.
We have had conversations about this.
Yeah. So getting out, you can't just I mean, you can, but
High
it's
school,
very difficult
right?
to be able to go out to a bar and see another man and be like, "Hey, man, you want to be friends?" Like
That's how we met.
it's
Hey, man,
weird.
that's
No, but it is. It's tough. It's not a comfortable thing to do. It's
Ego, pride,
exactly.
fear.
So being
Responsibility.
we'll go ahead.
Well,
What?
I'm going to interject.
No, go ahead.
I can completely attest to that because I'm that person.
Mhm.
When I purposely go out to places by myself just to see what it's about, you know.
Mhm.
And most times I do not talk to people. If I make eye contact with somebody, I say hello. But in LA, that's not the culture to speak to somebody.
Exactly, especially in
So
LA.
it's just like, hey, how's it? Oh, no, okay.
No, okay. Just wanted to be a friend, but okay.
If it was New York, they'd have been like, "Yo, we get drunk today."
I mean, but that's the East Coast of me. Like I'm East Coast and Southern hospitality person within me. When I see somebody, we establish eye contact. I acknowledge you.
Not in LA.
It's not like, oh no, this didn't
That's why you
happen.
need to find East Coast establishments. So one of the best communities I found was, because I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, and I found a Steelers bar out here. And the first time I went, like immediately everyone's embracing you as one of the tribe, and then now I can go to that bar on any given night, and suddenly everyone is like, hey Patrick, good to see you, like let me get you a beer. And all this stuff.
Well, funny you should say that.
Okay, speak on it, Sean.
Funny you should say that, because when I was down under in Australia, I felt like a lot of people were just sincerely warm. Like,
You're also a foreigner, which is always every single culture loves foreigners.
Would I have a sexy accent? In
Who can do it?
He doesn't have a sexy accent. He has a sexy accent.
Okay, no,
just
but
not Keenan.
I'm glad you pointed out the sports, because sports always brings people together.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Sean and I are part of the LAFC community. We're actually part of the supporters group. And that goes to the point of, for example, myself, it's harder to find somebody at your age that you can relate to. So me having joined TSG, which is a supporters group for LAFC, like opened a whole new, it wasn't like I just gained a couple of friends. No, it's like you gained a whole family.
Yeah.
And it's like, and all of these people, because you guys have a common ground, support you in everything else that you do. Like, it's amazing how like it's just amazing.
Y'all not ashamed for single people, because
I'm sorry, go ahead.
y'all talking about friends. I'm looking for single people.
There are some, and I highly suggest that you go ahead and roll into some of those burlesque shows sitting around.
Hey.
You're not ready for me. Baby.
Y'all can't see what's happening right now.
Also,
Don't let
super
this keep that
single, super single, and I can tell you where to go. I might not be there because I get mom duty and shit, so I don't always. And then I also work at the time that I'm usually your entertainment, but I can tell you where to go.
Okay,
there you go.
So I can totally relate to that though. Like, so
You're a single
people,
lady.
no. People would assume, for example, that because of the way I am in personality, that I'm actually extroverted. But if it wasn't for the skills I learned as an entertainer, I'm a fucking introvert at heart.
Yo, so at LAFC, right? So I'm the guy that does like all the hype up stuff, right?
And you're on TV.
He's the capo. He's
I
the
saw you on
champion.
TV. Dude.
So like people think that about me too. Like they think like, oh, this guy's just turned up all the fucking time. And just he doesn't need a drink, man. He's hype all day.
Yeah.
They don't understand that when I come home from the game, I'm just like,
He gets in his little cocoon and he waits for the next match day to come out.
yo, I take people.
He's Ghidorah.
He's like the whole like getting ready, and she's like, oh, I got this. All right, I'm gonna lead 3,252 people. It's like that. It's kind of funny.
And to anyone listening out there who feels like oh, what do I have to offer people, or what can I do? Like, take a look around, see whether you can be if you aren't extrovert, you'd be surprised that there's a book named Quiet by Susan Cain that talks about being able to arrive at a room early so that you have some mental ownership of the space that people show up at. So that ability to just show up and maybe be the person putting together the event automatically places you at an advantage. The way someone who's a singer at a show, or a rapper at a show, or a dancer at a show suddenly controls the room and now has a reason or a channel to actually communicate with someone.
And a big shout out on that point to anyone, and I mean, given the conversation that's already happened, I imagine pretty much everyone in this room who put on events or are that first person at events, making everyone like comfortable, creating the vibe for a certain event, because don't get enough thanks.
Yeah.
Because everyone like loves events when they go to them, particularly like fun events that everyone has a good time at, but they never quite remember the amount of logistics that go into it. And like you say, when you said Sean getting drained at the end, like you've done all this hype work, made everyone have a good time, and then at the end, even as an extrovert, I'm also just like,
yeah.
Kiva,
I need to sleep for 7 days right now to just recharge.
Sheila, you were gonna say something?
I have an event that I usually work for the last 8 years in June. I usually work it. This last year I did not have more fun. I was so ready to get like turned up and party all night. I did not have more fun this year not working because I wasn't able to like find my space with people or greet people as they came in and have a moment to myself with them. Instead, I was just thrown into everyone around, and me being an introvert, even though I'm an entertainer, I'm like, oh, I don't know where I belong. Hi.
It's a psychology shift. That's what it is.
I think it's. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No.
No, I think it's something you touched on earlier when you said knowing your character. Sometimes even like some of us who are mature enough to say we kind of have it figured out.
Wow, why you only look at Joe when you say mature?
Because only Joe hasn't figured it out.
Only Joe has his shit together. That's what I was trying to slowly highlight here.
No, I see you're kind of making peace with what happened earlier.
Okay. Hey, kudos.
No, you were saying, I'm sorry, I just lighting up.
Faceless chap, you know?
Yeah.
No, but in a sense of
knowing your character.
And as you know, age-wise, which I don't really think that dictates anything as far as maturity and learning about yourself. I feel like knowing yourself at the end, as the old Egyptian proverb says, know thyself, actually gives you that, or catapults you ahead most times. Because even as introverts or extroverts, if you have that advantage of knowing what you're going to do in certain situations, when I feel uncomfortable, when I try to say hello, but how can I go around that? I feel that gives you that advantage. Yeah. And so, like, arriving early, I've never done that.
That's pretty cool.
Yes, you did. They didn't. It's just,
I got here super early.
He got here 3 hours early.
Yeah.
It's comforting to know that even though like we're all leaders in some capacity, like we still it's still a situation for us. It's not as easy as some people may think it is.
Yeah.
I'll give you a complete failure of mine. Just to illustrate, most people who were here would know me as somebody outgoing, gregarious, what have you. There was an event I went to, I want to say like 6 years ago, in Santa Monica at a co-working space cross campus or whatever. And it was like afterwards, it was like an angel investor seed capital round of people were proposing ideas to each other. And I went there with somebody I don't usually ever hang out with, but he wanted somebody to roll with him to this event, a lawyer. And so I show up, right? And I get to, I'm like, I'm seeing people and I see him, he calls me over to the group he's talking to. So I go over and there's this one guy who, he's not wearing socks, but he's got the loafers on with the suit. So I in my head, based on my experiences, I already know like maybe potentially who this guy could be as far as a personality is concerned. And he didn't disappoint, right? So I'm keeping my peripherals open, trying to give cues that I'm interested in being a friend or a friendly person and to jump into the conversation. Yeah. And at some point in the middle of him talking and looking at people as he was controlling the conversation, he made contact with me. And I was like, hey, I'm Phil. I don't want to interrupt. I just want to say hi. He just looks at my hand, looks down at my hand, looks at me, and then just looks away and continues the conversation, not even saying hello, right? And so I look at my friend who invited me and I'm like, dude, did this just happen, right? And my friend kind of just looks at me like, and he doesn't say anything. And so my friend didn't even introduce me into the conversation. And so now I'm standing there looking like a fucking asshole, right? And like, I eat ass on my face and I'm thinking to myself, and I'm thinking to myself, like, I'm getting hot and flustered and like my skin is flushing. And I was so frustrated with the way I had just been treated. And the event had just started, man. I made it all the way out from like downtown LA all the way to Santa Monica. And honestly, that was enough to push me, someone who's outgoing. I was like, fuck this event. I don't need to be here. And I I just left.
That's crazy. Yeah. That makes me feel terrible. That's a bad representation of my people. Santa Monica, fuck!
I'm sure they were all from Santa Monica.
He was a tech guru,
Just to piggyback on what you're saying in the sense, because it goes back to, because I wanted to say, I'm an extrovert.
Okay.
I don't really like people.
You're like an ambivert.
Yeah, but I'm just joking. But I am a people
But not.
person. Yeah, like I like a lot of my alone time.
Right.
But I am a people person.
Right.
So which means I know how to.
You sound like a well-balanced human being.
Right.
Yes.
I'm very much
a little psycho, but whatever. But so in a sense, I know how I'm able to work a room.
Right.
But I'm also an energy taker. So depending on how the room is and how the energy is,
right,
can also dictate how I behave.
Sure.
So I can see how like that would have just kind of just turned your whole evening off.
Oh yeah.
You know, because that one in a sense, we will graduate from that, but it shouldn't. You know what I'm saying? Because you want to be the above person, like, okay, cool, that's your energy. I'm gonna move on to the next person, and I'm gonna let the next person show.
In a perfect world, I would have taken that and gone, okay, I'll talk to somebody else.
That's what I'm saying. In a perfect world, so it's that balance of being an introvert and extrovert, and being able to look past something asshole like that.
That's the worst fear at an event, right?
For somebody, and then for him to do it in front of other people, is what's fucked up. But what will bring you to like a level of, I guess, maturity or
nonchalant, emotional maturity. I could have been emotionally mature.
I was like, yes, that's perfect.
Like, I don't give a fuck. You move on to the next and you work whatever, because you can work a room, you know, and you move on to the next.
Caught me on an off day, you know. I didn't need something earlier. You know?
Sorry, it's okay.
But going off that. This happened 6 years ago.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So,
I wasn't paying attention, but damn.
So that's then the question. Is there been experiences that you've had, maybe not the same situation, but a similar situation, where having had that previous experience, you're now able to go, well, you know, this person was a dick to me, but now I can move on to the rest of the room. It doesn't have to kill my entire night just because I have one micro moment.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I could have let that ruin it for the rest of my life. But then we put together an event over in off La Brea near Hollywood, and there was one person in attendance. Even though, you know, I was part of like the experience of putting the event together, there was one person in attendance who, when I spoke to them, I got from the conversation, they were like, "What do you do?" Okay, yeah. Anyways, and you know, walked off as I suddenly became irrelevant to his purposes. But I began to recognize that I can't take things that people do who don't know me personally personal.
Right.
You know? And it's one thing to read it in a book or to have the mantra. It's another to finally mature enough emotionally, because I should have been emotionally mature enough to not take it personal and tell that person to fuck off.
Well, you shouldn't have to have been, because you learn.
Right. Shoulds.
Yeah. You know, that was a moment of experience so that you can take it with you, and now you know for next time, like, how can I feel my way out of this to feel better?
And this is all in an effort, sort of like, for anyone listening who does, because we are talking about the problems that it can cause when you don't have a community, when you do feel alone, that even I myself, who would seemingly be someone who's successful in a group of people, have had some of the worst experiences you could have. And I've experienced that fear and that embarrassment and that shame. And that's part of the reason why I brought it up. You know, it's
well, just to quickly go off that, I have a very recent experience, literally Wednesday of last week. I went up to San Francisco on a 7-hour bus ride to get there for an event. And when I got there, one of the hosts had their car breakdown. Another one was coming like 2 hours late, so wasn't really going to be able to make it.
Wow.
One of the girls, who was also one of the hosts, was like freaking out, and I was there able to like step in, help out. It wasn't my event to run, but I was able to keep the situation calm. And then inevitably, about half an hour in, the entire event was cancelled.
Wow.
Now, if I allowed myself to be quote unquote triggered in that moment, I go, well, what a waste of time. I spent all this time coming up to San Francisco, and you know what, I got nothing out of it. But no, I saw it as, okay, well, this is a learning experience of how not to run an event, and I've got a couple of events coming up very soon. Another LinkedIn Local LA, shout out to that. But that's coming pretty soon, so that's a good lesson to take for that. And then I got dinner with that host. We had a good conversation. That was great. And then I went to a favorite piano bar of mine, and I spent 4 hours there, which I love piano bars because I'm really like a 60-year-old man in a 20-year-old.
I'm with
like
you.
AC/DC, Journey, Take Me Home, Country Roads. It was. Just
I remember seeing the stories. It's very much like Howl at the Moon in the valley out here.
Yeah.
Can I ask you guys a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
What are your views? Because we're talking about creating community, and what are you guys' views on losing relationships? Especially in here in LA, because I feel a lot of friendship, which are relationships, are sometimes short-lived.
Yeah.
And for me, being from the East Coast, I'm from Miami, Florida, so you know, bigs up 305 till I die, baby.
I'm there in 2 weeks, so I love Miami.
Yeah, Miami.
Joe's international.
Yeah, he does.
I know.
And it doesn't really matter where you're from, but just how much friendship means to you. Like, you have associates, and then you have friendships, right? Or people that build or become friends.
Well, I think it goes back to almost you once again slightly touched on it. When people here in LA, I feel like they quickly assess you by, okay, what do you do? What kind of party is on?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. What
And,
can you do for
and
me?
how does that serve me?
Right.
So that's why I find a lot of people don't have strong bonds here because they're so hooked on material aspects of life. They have nothing deeper than the surface to go on.
Yeah, wolves in sheep's clothing.
Exactly. So it's,
At the same time, can it be okay to have friends who literally serve you no good either? I just want to be devil's advocate.
Why do you point to Joe when you do that?
No.
Are
I'm
no good or are bad for you? Because I have
There's
some
a
friends that are like, I have a few of my homegirls that are literally, they're my homegirls. I'm like, bitch, I want to go out, do some coke, get drunk, let's go. That's all they're here for. Let's go, like that's
And
it.
what are their names?
And they're not the people that I come and cry to. They're not people that I depend on. They are people that but though there are certain levels that I can have an attachment and a real something there with them. And so therefore we've been like that for like 15, 20 years.
I think that's a little, I think it's a little, for myself, it's a little tough because I tend to blur the lines between associates and friends
there we go.
very easily. Like, there are people who I know are just associates of mine, but for whatever reason, I become attached to them. And then vice versa. There are friends who are genuinely friends to me that I'm like, I'll see you when I see you, but like, so it's
looking
tough.
at you, Keenan.
No, Keenan's one of my best friends. I'm just going like this.
But in that same breath, why is it that we are so vain to disrespect the ones who are truly loyal to us versus the ones who are like, when I feel like I need something from you, I'll show up.
Right.
Okay,
I do know what you're talking
Sheila, you
about.
brought something up great. That there is a distinction. What I was referring to really was the people who are no longer good for you. Where
I'm the one. I'm the no good friend. I'm that guy. That's me.
I don't even need a friend to be useful to me. I just want to make sure that they have ambitions and they feel good. It's one thing to have a down day. It's another to have just given up and resigned yourself to be a second class. Like, I don't want to say it. It's another thing to have resigned yourself to being no good for the world at all, and so then having a fuck it all attitude and being negative.
You guys can't be friends with those people.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Those are people who are like, we're jack diddly squat to anybody.
Yeah.
So why?
I think it's the fact that, and I don't know, especially if you're not from here, I feel like a lot of people, especially in California, I know a lot of people.
Hey, LA people are
But it
trash.
can
Don't
be
get it twisted.
very-
We're all trash.
Don't get it twisted.
But it could get
I'm the worst.
They can't be trash.
Speak for your
As we
fucking
talk
self.
over here.
I don't want to
Jesus
say.
fucking Christ.
I don't want to.
No one in this room.
When you say it,
I say okay.
Just give it like 2 seconds, Nene.
Right. I see.
Go ahead, Billy.
Because we are trash. So.
That's hilarious.
No. Any
Okay.
city, you're gonna find. Okay.
But I was just saying to say that you can know a lot of people, but it still could be very lonely.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
'cause I have a lot of friends who, and I've had a few friends who had committed suicide. And
Okay.
you're like, whoa, how, where does this happen? Like,
Right, the jolly person.
you know, the jolly person. I just saw you at the Christmas party.
The tears and the smile.
You know, everything, just everything. And all of a sudden it's like the world, it needed to end. And maybe it could have been just some personal things as well. But I mean, if I'm being honest, I wouldn't say I've gone as far as, you know, wanting to commit suicide, but I had lonely moments.
Life gets hard.
You know what I'm saying? Whereas it's like I have my friends, and it's not to say that I don't have my friends. Oh,
Pass the alcohol down the way.
So you're gonna interrupt that story?
Yeah.
I'm with you. I'm absolutely 100% with you.
No, you're
Because
fine.
I
get
definitely
that.
want to touch on this topic.
But it's just, you know, you have very dark moments, and you ask yourself, like, whew, I know all these people, very genuine people that I've had moments with, you know, deep thoughts with, but can I really call them in this moment to really feel fulfilled with what I'm going through?
Can I open up?
Can I open up? Will they take the time out of their business? Because a lot of my friends are working right now too, working actresses and just on big shows.
It makes it harder with intergender relationships, right? Where like you want to call this dude who you think is cool, or you want to call this girl who you think is cool, but it's like, are they going to take this the wrong way when I really just think I would have a great conveation with them?
I'll answer your call.
The biggest time,
I'm not working.
and the biggest, and usually
Oh, we know that, Keenan.
and it says a lot for myself as well. It's just, you know, categorizing, you know, who my friends are, you know, who you can go to. Sorry.
No, I'm a people snob, so I know what you mean. I know what you
mean. And like I said, I have friends, and sometimes you can see that when birthdays come up. You know, you have a birthday dinner. Oh, who's gonna show up?
That's right. You didn't show up to my birthday.
There's a difference in friends you can count on, like, to party. And there's a difference in friends, like, it's 4 a.m. in the morning, I'm straight on the side of the road. I'm gonna call so-and-so.
Ooh, perfect example.
For me,
It's realizing that difference.
Yeah.
Yes. And so Joe actually performed that 2 days ago. After
performed
Halloween.
what?
Hey, it was late. I was lonely.
Side of the road.
Yeah, so I was leaving his house. No joke intended, but I was leaving his house. It was I went with him and his family to go trick or treating with his kid. I wasn't really doing anything. He called me up. I went to go do it.
Like most nights.
I know. Well, I mean, it's like you would think as a single guy I would be going out and doing some single guy stuff.
Well, that's like social norms
Yeah.
that have been placed upon us. That's not necessarily the truth.
Anyway.
had a plan.
Yeah, okay. So I went with this kid and I hung out, and then after we were done, this must have been late at night, I go to my car and I'm dressed up as a construction worker. So this guy in a truck who had a flat tire, like a terrible tire, saw me with my work outfit or my costume and asked me to help him out. So I was like, fuck it, sure, you know, I'm generally a nice guy. So
like the beginning of
all of a sudden the bass music started playing.
I'll help you out with my big wrench.
That was a missed opportunity.
Like he missed out on the opportunity.
Hey, big boy.
But so I called because I couldn't help him with. I was having some oddly enough trouble getting the jack to work to jack his car.
Oh, Jesus.
I couldn't get the jack off.
This is a real story.
This is a real story.
It's a real story.
Okay.
So, but I called for help. So
To get the jack off.
Somebody call for help.
because I didn't know how to do it, and
It's a threesome now.
because I knew Joe was down the street, so I called up Joe, and I left my phone at his house, my keys, because I couldn't get in my car because I had tools that I thought I could help. So
It's not getting better.
Everybody loves
And it's solely because Keenan's telling the story.
Clearly shows our levels of maturity.
I thought we were all mature here, guys.
But sure enough, as the friend that I know Joe is, he answered the call and actually came to assist. And
He came and he assisted.
And the sad thing was, and this is not, I mean, it's a stereotypical thing, but I knew the guy spoke mostly Spanish than English.
How did you know that? Hold on,
He had a heavy accent. Let's just say he had a heavy accent.
It was a heavy accent.
He said, no tricotin, no chingues.
Oh.
It's funny because, okay, so...
But I knew it could help for not the stuff I didn't know, but also to get
Man, let me just say that fuck Frontiers, Nissan Frontiers.
Yes.
It's a fucking bitch to get the fucking spare wheel out.
It's stupid. It's the dumbest thing ever. Yeah.
Okay, so Keenan called me and I go... And he's over there trying to figure out how to help this guy. This guy, like he's an older man. He was probably maybe in his 50s, 60s, and he had never changed a tire himself.
Wow.
Yeah. And
Wait, he was Latino?
Yeah. No, but
no chingues.
Hey, I get it because I was struggling with that damn tire too. So we finally figured it out.
It's in our genetics, man.
And it's just weird because I was on Keenan's ass for that because I was like, yo, man, I didn't even have my costume off yet. I'm over here in the middle of the street on the ground.
Like Randy Macho Man Savage?
Yeah. I'm under this truck trying to get this tire off with my costume and I'm like, oh my God.
Was it because Keenan was a good friend to you?
It was absolutely because Keenan asked me. Because if it would have been anybody else, I would have been like, I can't.
Yeah, what if it was Ray?
I would be there for you.
But that's the perfect example of what you're talking about.
Let's just be clear. Ray, Sean, Keenan, and Phil, I would do anything for.
I was just about to ask, in the last year, because we're closing the year, did you guys at least once call on someone that you were afraid to call to talk to?
Wait, for what?
Just
Ooh,
anything.
that's a good question.
Like a moment of vulnerability where you were like, fuck, man, but who else could I talk to?
No, I hate them. They're out
Two
of my life
people,
forever.
actually.
No,
lot of
but
times.
what I did learn in the last year is the art of letting go. Understanding.
Yes,
that,
same here.
Same.
Same here.
The art of letting go, because I've lost a few friends, and not like in passing, but just wasn't right for my life, my season. You know, it's the season was over.
Scorpio season.
And
I'm
the
absolutely
season was
with you.
over, and you know what I'm saying. And for me, I don't do well with change really well. Like, you know,
No one does. And
you know,
yet at
you're
the
my
same
friend,
time,
you're my friend, we're gonna get through this. But then I start to realize that maybe I wasn't as much of a friend to them as I thought they were to me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that happened to my roommate.
So it's, you know what I'm saying? So
they were going out of the way more for you than you were for them?
no.
Sounds familiar, doesn't it?
Vice versa, okay.
Or they didn't consider me a friend as much as I thought I considered them a friend. If that makes sense.
Right.
So I had to learn the art of
I
letting
thought we were closer.
Right. You know, so the art of letting go, because, you know, you have, especially for girls, you know, we have these things called the sisterhood. And,
It's tough.
you know, and it's tough because, you know, you connect to a girl and you start telling them certain things and it's a vulnerable state type of thing, you know, estrogen hormones, you know how that goes.
I don't.
You know, I don't know the bro code, but you know.
If I ask your age.
Oh, I'm 31. Oh God.
It's okay.
So
All
I'm
right, you're good.
27.
That's right, that was at 21.
You're gonna be learning those things, and in these next 10 years, you're gonna be like, "Don't call me sister. I have sisters.
Right.
I have friends.
Right.
And we're acquaintances." I just told someone the other day it was really fucking weird.
They thought you were sisters?
No, it was a dude who's a super burlesque fan, and he shows up at all the shows, and I don't know, one of my Muggle life massage therapy clients that has been my client forever.
Like the Harry Potter
When
drop.
he
Nice.
started to I don't know what Jeremy was doing. No,
Pause.
Because it's weird because he asked, well, if he decides to listen, then he'll know exactly who it is
Okay.
anyway, because I was very blatant. I don't now. I'm 40. I'm not
You got time for that shit.
Thanks.
I know.
Lots of makeup today, but I still look young today. I did lots of makeup. I came from a show. But he was like, we've been friends a long time. We've been friends for 6 years, and I'm like, yeah, we've known each other for 6 years. We're We're good acquaintances, Jeremy.
In relation to girls, they'll have girls done that to you. Is what we're getting at.
That too. As time goes on, but I don't. But like now, I don't even. I'm jaded. Maybe I'm learning. I'm trying. The last few months, since I turned.
So all the strip clubs I go to, we're not friends.
No, you weren't friends with those strippers, Keegan.
Close, and when I start to let them that close, I can see where I'm like, do you belong here?
No,
or usually someone has done, and this is historically, someone does something in that like trial period that you really should have looked at and either put a boundary up for or nipped in the butt, and you didn't. I didn't. Or I thought that I did, and then it continued. And so now that I'm, 10 years past 30, I'm like, well, I can recognize those things more quickly.
Yeah. See, I want to open this up more because I can't tell you how many people I've come across in my own life who are girls who struggle with creating bonds with other girls. And it's easy for me as a guy, like I talk to guys like, if you don't like a guy, fuck them and like it's over, right? Yeah. For the most part, there are exceptions.
Because chicks are, I'm a terrible feminist. Chicks are really fucking trifling at times. Like,
so it has to do with relationships.
But not all. Like those are I also have really strong bonds with a lot of strong ass women.
Right.
So
but why though? Where does the trifling come from? Like where does that
You know what? When you got dudes that look like me,
I'm not that kind of woman. I don't know, because I'm not that kind of woman. But I recognize it in women, and I see it, and so I can see where people are like, don't trust women, and where we have it where we don't trust other girls.
Doesn't that happen in the
But I
black
don't know if
community
it's because we let people in more easily than men do. I haven't gone this far in my thoughts, but maybe it's because we automatically open ourselves to people.
I love how you said
and so we open ourselves to be hurt more than men do.
Yeah. And so, like you said, don't you see or notice like a relationship between that and the African American community about that sort of bringing in and like distrust as well at the same time?
Oh, that's a whole other can of worms that we can talk about, but I get in trouble because I'm too light to have that conversation.
It's like
I'm told this.
Patrick, you want to say something regarding that?
About her ethnicity?
No, nothing about ethnicity. But I did want to touch on your point where you said letting people in, and sort of the flip side is one thing I have noticed at the same time as women sometimes open up too much in certain situations, which allows them to be heard. At the same time, there is a lot of jealousy I have as a man of noticing the very strong female relationships that they're able to build with each other, and just one for all the men. That's something that men can consistently struggle to do. Like how many of us can really say we have that many strong relationships with other men that is beyond that surface level of making jokes at each other's expense, talk about sport, talk about like news, banter, that sort of thing.
Masking the vulnerability.
Yeah, and that becomes, obviously, we talk a lot about how men need to embrace their emotions and we need to get away from this like archaic idea of what a man is.
Misogyny, machismo.
Exactly.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
But it's still going to be a very long process. Honestly, if I was even to think about it for myself, I'd probably only say Philly and Keenan. And compared to like all my other mates they've been great mates and they're great for shooting the shit and having banter, but like the level of conversation that is kind of equivalent to what I've seen female friends, and that people have noticed that about me. They're like, why do you have so many friends who are women? It's like because many because no
any of that accent.
No, it's not even that. It's literally because there is a way that you can talk about that level of depth and those level of emotions.
Sure.
That can't, even if we want to with other men, we don't necessarily do that out of fear of like we'll be called a pussy or any sort of.
I associate do that.
Yeah, exactly.
I really don't get that.
Go ahead.
No, I'm saying I don't really get that, but I think that's just me. Because I've always
No, you're not alone in that because I'm the type of man who allows himself to be very vulnerable. No.
Yeah, and then I'll say fuck you if I need to.
No, dude. I had a moment with my son a couple of days ago where one of his friends was not being a friend to him, and I told him like, look, like. You got to understand that some friends aren't your real friends,
right?
And that's just the way it is. And I'm like I said, I'm the vulnerable type that I was like, look, kid, I will show you. Like you will find friends who will stand in solidarity with you. And a perfect example, I was the type of dad that I was there talking to my son, trying to explain to him what solidarity and having friends who are really with you. And I called Sean actually. Because Sean is the capo, which is the leader, which is one of the leaders of our group, and I called Sean. I was like, "Hey, Sean, can you help me explain to my son what solidarity is?" And he led my son in a chant, and I said, "Like, we have this thing, and it's a perfect example because the chant itself, which is something that Sean came up with, was who has my back, who's got my back, and then the response to that is we got your back." Who's got my back? We got your back. Who's got my back? We got your back. Who's got my back? And my son was like, we've got your back.
I heard that over the radio, not the radio, but the phone.
And it low-key brought me to tears too because my son was crying. I was like, fuck, this is perfect. Because as men, we have to understand that we got to get past this machismo bullshit and really let our emotions be expressed. Because otherwise, we're just gonna be fucking savage Neanderthal motherfuckers that don't give a fuck about anything.
Here's my side of it. Like I know you said, get rid of the machismo. Yes, the machismo is an issue, but I think also as a father, it's kind of your responsibility to also teach your son that other side of the coin. It's like my wife is very like, oh, don't like. I have a 17-year-old, a 16-year-old, and I have a 8-year-old. My oldest is my son, but it's like he's a genuinely nice kid. He's 17 and is very far.
So you're teaching him how to protect himself.
Exactly. It's almost like to the point like where he's to me.
Two sides of the same coin.
Keep that side. Keep the love. Keep the genuine, like positive, the innocence. But at the same time, you also need to know that it's okay to defend yourself. Because for him, I feel like he's kind of a late bloomer in that side of things, where it's like he doesn't know that it's okay to tell people like, hey, no, that's not all right. I don't like that. Yeah. It's like he's just. He's so nice that it's like I fear for him being taken advantage of.
I know what that's like. Yeah, that's right.
Shut the fuck up, Kina.
But see how hard you're right. I think there's something about being.
I was over here getting teared. I was getting like
misty eyed. There are, of course, the outliers and fucked up parents. We won't talk about them. They're not parents, right? But I think there's something about being a parent that really brings your life into balance, where you can kind of see a lot more easily what's good, when shit goes too far, whether it's, you're being too emotional, because sometimes you don't tell people, like, you can tell your kids, all right, we're done crying now, because it's, over this?
Exactly.
Like, over this? Really? Like, why? There's so much else to be concerned with, or even to the other side where they're being insensitive, or I will never forget, I don't think, the first time that I ever saw my oldest, Delaney, like her senior year. I took her to the day where they get like their papers and shit, and this girl that I know she doesn't like walked up, and she was nasty. I was like, so when I yanked her away from the group. It was like, you don't have any, I know you don't like her, but you don't have any reason in the world to be nasty like that. I've never seen you act like that. And
you said that to the girl? You pulled her out?
I know, I said that to my daughter.
Oh, okay,
she was being nasty to that. If I saw if it was someone else's child, I would do it too. But it was my child, and so I really was like, get your ass over here. There's no reason for you to act like that or to another human.
Even if you don't like somebody.
Even if you don't like someone, unless they've really done some shit to you, there's no reason to do that.
Because you're setting the bar for the rest of their life.
Right.
If now they're gonna react to every person that doesn't like him or says something snide to them, it's like
not okay.
And
you're
also
gonna have a long life.
It's the two sides of the same coin. If you act in that way, you are using hate, right? And the best way to get if you want to get back at someone, is being different.
Yeah.
You have to learn being different. Because when you have hate, you're storing that in your body.
You're
and you're
hurting
actually
yourself.
hurting yourself.
Wait,
Show
Right.
me kindness, baby.
It's that
Show me
old
kindness.
fuck the haters. Like, remember on social media, it was like, oh, and fuck the haters. Like, aren't you technically hating the haters? It was kind of
Right.
the same.
Right.
Oh, just a quick
That's
point on
just their
haters.
way of like
Uh,
masking.
of course.
You got some haters, Patrick?
Well, yeah,
Oh.
I remember
Like-
the first time I got a hater on social media.
Oh.
I loved it.
I thought it was active.
But the thing with haters is that you can, not always, but you can disarm them. So I had one guy comment on one of my posts, and he was very abrupt, very brusque in the way he came across. But I just had a conversation with him, tried to see where we could find some common ground, and he slowly, you could see it, he just slowly distilled from that and realized, oh, actually maybe I came across too aggressive. Now I'm not saying everyone will do that, some people will hold on to that ego side, but if you just approach them as a person, sometimes they'll go, yeah, you're right, maybe we do have more in common than
We're
perhaps
going back to
somebody
the art of letting go.
Yeah.
Is even if that person that you confront doesn't want to even deal with you anymore, you have to understand that it's not your fault.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I think that that's especially in a real or friendship that you thought was a real friendship. And that's where I was coming to with the whole, see how hard it was to even talk about even building a friendship, like how important it was for his son to what he thought his friend was being a friend to him wasn't really being a friend, and how it affected him. Imagine losing that and trying to regroup from that. You start thinking like, well, what was wrong with me? What did I do? Like, especially if you know in your heart that you didn't do anything to the core where it felt like that person decided that they just felt like they didn't need you in their life. And I'm not speaking off of just one person. Like I've lost several friends in the sense of I had to think to myself.
You just made several more, by the way.
Oh, you so sweet. Like, no, for real.
Damn.
That shit was corny.
We're gonna start a group chat.
We're in a group chat.
We have a group chat.
I'm the worst. I'm the worst.
And that's
Oh
the
my God.
beautiful part about it, and that's what I wanted to bring up when it goes back and it piggys back to what we were talking about before with you're not alone and being able to build a community and find a community to be with. It's basically the recouping part that you have to focus on, not necessarily the part where you have to let go. The more you can quickly let that go, the easier it is to gain.
Yeah.
It's
A
you
more
make space.
substantial, substantial and more friendships in that sense. And that's what I learned. Definitely.
It's kind of, I want to piggyback off that. It's almost the same in romantic relationships, I think, as it is in friendships. Sometimes you have to come across people who show you all the wrong ways to be treated, or you end up treating people all the wrong ways, and then the next one comes around, or the next people come around, and now you treat them the right way, or they treat you the right way. And it's fascinating how mysterious and magical that really is about life.
It's crazy. I can relate to what you're saying because I recently, I don't want to say that I completely lost a friend, but a line was drawn as to what our friendship was. And it sucks because it was someone who was my confidant. Like literally every other day we were together. We would hang out. We would do all,
We'd break laws.
Yeah, we'd break laws.
Right.
Like this was my quote unquote ride or die. Like, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere, it just stopped. And it took me a while. Like for a while, I thought he was dead. Like because there was no way I could communicate with me. I was entirely cut off. Like completely, to the point where I was like looking up databases, coroner. Like where is this dude? Do you know where is he?
Wow.
And
He just fell off the planet.
Yeah, he completely fell off the grid. So to me, I was like, damn, he's gone. Something happened. And then
I remember you asking me if I've even talked. Yeah.
I want to say maybe 9 or 10 months later, he just sends me a text like, "Yo, what's up? You good?"
No.
I'm like, "What?"
No.
I was like, "Yo."
She said no.
I was like, I went to your crib. nobody lived there anymore.
No.
I called your mom. I called your dad. Nobody could tell me where you were. Like, I thought you were dead.
Because I've had people disappear and show up for good reasons. I disappeared and showed up when I was young for a good fucking reason. But you better have a good fucking, at least tell me it was some shit and I'm sorry.
Wow.
There wasn't.
No.
It was just like, yeah, I was going through some stuff. I just disappeared.
You mean like they went through something that would be a good reason, but they decided not to share it with you?
Yeah, it wasn't even worth sharing.
And we ran into somebody that I severed ties with here in Pasadena, and that he pulled me away from it, so we didn't have that interaction.
Because it was going to be a thing.
I don't know.
It was gonna be a thing for me.
I didn't recognize the person there. They saw the friend that I cut ties
We were
with.
literally just talking about earlier.
And something in the universe. We were just talking back. Yeah. And he was there, and then Joe and Philly saw him. I didn't.
Knowing how
recognize him.
mistreated he was, we were like, you know, I don't even want to eat here. Let's just
Exactly.
go somewhere else.
So they like prevented me from even.
Good.
And I haven't spoken to the person in over 2 years, and that's on purpose by me, because I don't want to have any. To them, I'm doing what Joe's friend did to him. You know, they're dead to me because of what happened in the past. I'm like, I'm not.
But that's the thing. I don't know that anything happened. It was. For me, it's like, why?
And technically, that person, if he did all the things Joe did, like call my parents, call Philly Joe, call anybody because he was in a big circle. So that person could have easily communicated to me without communicating to me directly.
Right.
But there are times where, you know, even I myself, as the most amazing guy, as you know, and very friendly, have the ability to have that too, to cut ties with based off of what happened. And I can always see their side of the story. I just am choosing to ignore it.
Am I the only one getting how important right now the ability to communicate, to connect with other people is in this day and age?
It is.
Yes, Philly, you're the only one.
I mean, I said
In the world.
Obviously, I have some kind of super talent or something.
All I know is I'm just going on.
Give him a second, Sheila.
Hold on, guys. My ego needs to be inflated.
Right on the table, whoosh.
I think that those of us who have had to let people go we know what we're doing in terms of making connections.
Yeah.
It's if you haven't had to let anybody go.
Yeah.
You know, that you
Come
haven't
on.
really
It's a podcast, man.
Yeah, lay it on.
You've been
I would say
quiet
that's
though,
true,
most of the
though.
time.
That's because you're just talking over him.
Sometimes people just. My big lesson was my best friend from high school, and then shortly, like a few years later, my mother. So I had hard lessons real early.
Mom too.
My mom at 27 years old, I had to fucking shut it down for about 3 years, and then it was terrible because my mom also, she has some really great karma. She's a beautiful, magical, wonderful person, and I understand that she cannot deal with this realm, and so she has drug problems. And I had to let her go. And I had my younger siblings for a minute, and she just it was crazy. Shit hit the fan. I had to cut it off. But also, like I said, my mom has done some really wonderful things, and so her karma's good. That's probably why she's still alive, considering how many times we've had to like run into like, are you okay? And she's fine. But the universe told her that I was graduating with my degree the day before I was graduating, and suddenly after like 2.5 years, she calls me. And I'm like, oh yeah, hi, like she didn't even know. And then she, being her, senses something, calls my uncle. And I told everyone, because all my family, your mom's calling, she wants to come to your graduation. I'm like, no. But they made it happen anyway. It was fine until I got too drunk, and then I was in the bathroom like, I just need her to go.
Yeah.
Terrible. But like, I had to put those boundaries. Like, once she made her way back in, it was even harder because I still have to be like,
Yeah.
We're stopping here.
Too much damage.
You're stopping
It's
here.
damaged already. Blood makes you family genetically.
I have the same issue with my father. Like I'm stubborn enough not to let him in, and I mean because of his past
What's your
transgressions. What's that?
What's your sign?
What do you mean? What?
My sign.
You're an Aries.
I'm an Aries.
Oh,
Shout out to
Yeah,
them.
there's
Tell me-
heartless
tell me-
continue. You said stubborn. Continue.
Okay,
But
but
you
I really am. I'm stubborn as hell. Like and
Stubborn.
I mean my father like he I want to say he has his own life to live.
Yeah.
And the choices that he made were his choices. But from his children's perspective, maybe we felt a little abandoned by the choices he made, even though we were adults and everything.
Yeah, that has
But-
something to do with yeah.
Yeah. So we felt a little abandoned by some of the actions that he made. But he's made an attempt to like reconnect and just be part of the life. But it's not to me it was never a genuine attempt at reconnection. It was more like I'm trying to reconnect with you. Like he's a salesman through and through. So his attempt to reconnect also came with a caveat, like, hey, I want to make sure that we're good again, but I also have this great opportunity for you. You know, like so to me it
That
was
sounds
like
like some MLM. It's like we haven't spoken in 6 years, but let me
that's
tell you about her.
and that's the relationship. And that's the relationship that we've had for the last
Not
10, 12
genuine.
years. It's always been like, I love you, son. I have this great opportunity for you. By the way, how's your family? Like it's
Why
never
not
felt
just
genuine.
say, I love you, how's
So-
your family?
Yeah.
But let me ask you.
Instead of saying, I love you, how's your family? Let's talk about it for like 3 hours. And then at the ass end of it, say, hey, I don't know if you're interested.
So in many ways, that sounds like a poor salesman. Because a really good salesman would be
never
building the
test it.
relationship
Yeah.
first
Test it.
and then bringing up the.
But no, because they're sure things.
So wait,
So,
there's
you
more.
know. And then Ray, what are you saying?
I was gonna say, actually, have you brought that to his attention though? Like in
I have.
that aspect.
I was blunt. Like, yo, if you want to talk to me,
Yeah, see, but that's what I'm saying. Did you talk to him the way you just talked to us, or did you talk
Absolutely.
to him like, as a territorial male? It's like, hey, bro, this shit it's not flying this way.
I did.
Because as a
that.
father,
That's
I
what I
feel
did.
like
That's what I did. That's what I did.
Yeah.
I basically told him like, yo, do not talk to me unless you're going to talk about family.
Exactly.
Like, if you have some business opportunities that you have, I don't want to hear them. Keep that pushing. But if you want to know how my son is, if you want to know how my daughter is, holler at me.
That just goes back to like people, like always looking at you in terms of, how can I take advantage of this person, or how can I, you know what I mean? Like shit like that. Like fuck that shit.
Yeah,
It pisses me the
absolutely.
fuck off, that stuff.
And it stings a little more because it's my father. It's like, it's always like, hey, I have an excellent opportunity. All I need is $5,000.
So,
No.
so let me ask you this question, because I've kind of had I've had this thing with my dad. Like my dad's like old school, like macho Mexican. That's kind of how I grew up. So I had an experience with my dad at maybe like 24, where he was having marital problems with my mom.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
family
my dad.
problem.
My
I'm
dad.
cool either way. That's good.
Mom, his name is Keenan. I will introduce you to him. You can address him with him.
Okay.
He does listen to the show, by the way.
Oh, she does?
Big fan.
Oh, nice.
So no, but there was an issue where like there was marital problems, and it was the first time that I had a conversation with my dad as a person to a person. Like the first time that I saw him as something outside of my dad who's
A father
teaching
to a
me, who's a
father.
father, who's always in my ass, who's always like all that stuff, right? But it was the first time that I think like he talked to me like as another man, like where he came to me, he's like, this is what's going on. This is why I want to tell you this, and then and we actually had a conversation where I was like, okay, well, you did X, Y, and Z, and I just felt like I was talking to a friend of mine for the first time ever. And not to say that really changed a lot with our relationship afterward, but it was the first time that I saw him as like another fucking like aimless dude like myself who's just trying to figure it
Like,
out.
yo.
And I'm like, we fuck up. Yeah, it's like we fuck up all along the road, left and right. And I was like, oh shit, my dad's just like me.
Right.
Yeah, he's like,
Isn't it crazy that moment when you realize that your father is
Or your mom.
just
Or
or
your
your mom
I never had
is
that
just
illusion.
is
Yeah.
just that is a regular person.
I
just
didn't get the opportunity because my parents were like from the
Yeah.
jump, but I can follow that. I can empathize with that and understand
because it's
that.
tough. Like as a kid, you like grow up thinking like, oh, my parents know it all. They got it all. They're
They're
in my ass.
superwoman.
Yeah, they're like, oh, just do what you do, and that's it. You know, I'm just gonna ride your coattails.
They're set, man.
And then when you realize that, oh shit, they're also having financial troubles. They're also having marital problems.
Yeah,
Yo.
I found out how much my mom was, cause she's a CNA,
Uh-huh.
and she's been saying that for like 20 plus years. I found out how much she was getting paid an hour, hourly, and I was like, I wouldn't even apply for a job that pays that amount. And I'm like,
Less than that.
less than that amount, or even at that amount, it would be way
Has to
more.
be, yeah.
And I'm like, you raised 3 kids, a house, and
Yes.
with a wife and a mom, all at once on that same salary. Like that blows my mind.
Yep.
And did it with a smile on her face.
And then okay, so then you bring up that point, and then I think I have those moments when I think like, yo, I'm 35, I'm doing pretty well. You know, I don't have everything together, but I'm doing pretty well for myself. But then I think about what my father was doing at 35, and he was running a multi-million-dollar company. He was doing all these things, but then he turned out like 10, 20 years later, he's not that man anymore.
It's
And
a
he's a
facade
completely
kind of,
different,
It's like,
so it's like
the curtains that are like drawn now, right?
So for the longest time, me comparing him at his prime to what I was at my prime, I'm like, wow, that's a huge contrast. But I also remember him at 35 not being at home, being gone for for months at a time, you know, or never even when he was home, never seeing him because I was already asleep by the time, you know, he got home, and he was gone by the time I woke up. So it's like, I'm so grateful that I'm actually able to take my son to school every fucking day.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful that I'm able to get home and my daughter's eyes light up when I walk into the room. Like when I walk in home, she's like, Papa! You know, like I'm so grateful those things because I know that my father was not there for those things.
And that emotional impact that you have on your children is like, it's hard to see. I mean, it's great that you've got those moments, but what's going to be even more powerful is when they're like grown up and adults and they have so much more breadth of social skills, of emotional intelligence because you were there for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and plus, this is where I give real kudos to you. You know, you were talking earlier about, you know, there are certain broken parents, but not choosing to follow that same path, not breaking that cycle of going, look, I understand you made those choices and forgiving your parents for that. At the same time going, I'm going to take a different route with how I raise my kids, and I'm going to be there for my kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
firm in
man.
that.
That's like real easy to say. Like,
No, it is, but it's hard to.
I mean, because the thing is, like, you're also like having to take into consideration, like, I'm a very flawed individual, like 100%.
100%, right here. See.
And I've grown up with
Incredible.
a lot of trauma, all that bullshit, you know, not bullshit necessarily, but you know, all that stuff. Because I think everybody has trauma. No matter whether you try to create it or whether you're like you're saying, like, I'm there for my kids. Dude, you might grow up and your kids might be like, dude, my dad is always on my fucking ass. He won't let me breathe. He won't. And it's like, that's literally the trauma you can create from doing that, right?
Right.
So for me, it's always been like, I've always just tried to teach them, like my kids specifically, like, you know, just life is life. You take what you want from it, you know, just don't react to things. Because like I've always grown up on, you have to react, you know, especially growing up in the hood, it's like you have to react. Like somebody steps in your fucking shoes, oh hell no.
Yeah.
When you start,
Yeah.
right? Like something as simple as that creates like that atmosphere for us. For me, I know growing up, it was always like I was fighting for like my peace.
Same.
You know? It's always what it felt like.
Same.
You know, like I was like, oh, what? You don't talk to me that way. You don't say that. You don't do this. You know, whatever the case is. And like now, as I'm older, I feel like I try to teach my kids, like, you know, people are gonna do what they do, and it's hard to like tell them like don't react when you're also trying to teach yourself like don't.
Not to react.
That's what I'm saying. It's like I know these, but it's like I'm also trying to
Teach
kind of like
yourself. You're still learning yourself.
unteach myself.
Yeah.
the things that I've kind of learned over the years.
Yeah.
So, and honesty is true.
Go ahead, go for it.
Now, I was just saying that honesty, I think that when your kids get to a level, and I don't have kids yet, soon, hopefully.
Not gonna
Not yet. Because I found the right person, I ain't trying to, whatever.
I know a couple single guys.
But I say that to say, I think that when your kids get to a level where you can be honest with them, honesty, it's fantastic. My mom was very honest with me. Mom, when did you lose your virginity?
Right.
I can tell you, 19. You know what I'm saying? Oh, word. You know what I'm saying? Like, I thought you waited till marriage, because growing up, church, wait till marriage. But then, when I got to a level of understanding, and she's like, you're becoming a beautiful woman, and this, that, and the other. She kept it real with me, and my mom is my best friend because of that. Because I know she's not bullshitting me, and she's not Miss Perfect. Now, don't get me wrong, she got her little old school ways, but she still is open-minded to the changes that are happening with our generation. And she's like, you're a woman now, I'm gonna teach you how to keep a man, like type of shit. She got up your sleeve, like you got more to teach. You got more to teach me.
Girl, you gotta flip them eggs, right, baby?
We don't need a chapter 2.
Coming home. I'm like, what? Mama, hold on. This is X right there.
But even that's like a skill.
I love it though.
Like learning how to be involved in a relationship is a skill. Because I feel like nowadays, everybody wants to be independent. Like women wants to be independent, man wants to be independent. Everybody wants to be independent. But at the same time, how does that work when you're in a relationship where it's got to be collaborative?
Well, is it a man wanting to be independent or a man just following the chain that we've always followed? That we are the supporters and the like.
No, but I think aside from that, I think everybody wants to be independent.
Oh,
I don't think anybody's like, I really want to be joined at the hip with this guy.
Nobody wants to be weak.
That's what I'm saying. It's like we just have the benefit of having to be on that track already. As far as women have not been on that track.
It'd be great to find a partner in this shit. Not independence. Sure, we can survive on our own, but a fucking
it's hard to be in a partnership.
Can we build something together? I think I'm.
They be like tag team Europe, babe. What you got? What you got? You got a little tape.
We have to remember that the partnership doesn't have to be a financial partnership.
No.
It could be an emotional partnership. It could be, there are a lot of things that happen outside of the financial, I'll give you.
Who mentioned finances? That's what sugar daddy.
Well, I mean, but
I
like her.
I gotta check
my little mama was good. I had expendable income.
I even like my little cleaning job.
Can we just get an amen to the word partnership? Because I think that is really when we think about relationships, so many relationships fail because people are looking for someone else to fix them. Right? I've got this core wound and I want someone else to fix that. No, you need to be strong, independent in yourself and then want to add value to someone else's life. Sure. And that's why I think partnership is the perfect word for it. It's I give something to you, you give something to me, and together, without using business terminology, we create synergy, right? Sure. 1 + 1 = 3,
Mm-hmm.
right? That by doing that, we're both supporting, and it's not about finances, it's not about emotion, it's about the whole thing. It's each part of the partnership adds to it to create something better.
But it's so fucking hard.
Marriage?
No, it is hard.
It is so hard.
That's what I'm fucking for.
Marriage people.
I think of marriage as a business partnership. It's a business. You're gonna do this.
It is a business.
Now,
There's a contract.
I'm super single and have a really hard time getting dudes to really understand it. I don't know if it's me or them. Haven't figured that shit out yet. But I think of marriage as the idea of marriage as a business partnership. Not hey, let's go out and conquer the world and get all these customers, but more in the sense of we've got a goal, we're gonna create something. Maybe that something spans off to do this other something, but there's finances involved and creativity involved and the idea of taking this and saying, hey, we're gonna pump each other up, we're gonna market each other. Even if you're not necessarily in the same business, but being able to say, hey, I'm like my girl does this or my dude does this and blah blah blah, like just bouncing off.
That's what it is.
Daily deposits.
Daily deposits, and I think where wires get crossed often is whether you guys even talk about goals and where they meet. Because often people have different goals, right? There might be someone who unintentionally fell into a relationship when their original goal was really just to have sex, you know? And then later they find out that they've now created this situation that they're in where they're expected to do more that they probably didn't even sign up for, or vice versa, right? You could be on the other end of that and going, you know, you originally told me the way you were communicating to me was as such, and now it's a whole different ballgame. And when people change at different paces, it's what creates the friction, I think, in the relationship. Is someone could start off just wanting to fuck and then eventually believe that, you know, wow, now that I've gotten to know you better, I actually want to do more. But then that's when the other person started to pull away, and it's like, yeah, that's why it's so hard, because no one is ever going to be on your time.
But that's LA in a nutshell. As someone, and I'm sure all of us engaged in the LA dating culture, which is, you know, negative to say the least. But the important thing is that I found this and friends would always criticize me for this. Is, you know, after, you know, several dates, about 3 or 4 usually, I would be like, look, this is what I want, which is long-term commitment. That's just the way I am.
That's
I see relationships. And they'd say things like, oh, well, let's just keep it as it is.
No!
Or let's just keep it as casual. And friends of mine would say, well, why don't you just go along with the sex? And no, exactly. And I said, look, the one line that I use every single time was, I respect that about you. I wish you nothing but the best, but I need to put myself in what I want. So I wish you the best for your life.
I love that. But I mean, I think most people in LA have not lived out their hoe phase, or they refuse to live it out. They just want to extend their hoe phase.
But I guess my point is that if you're looking for that, that's fine.
Exactly.
But that's where the communication comes in, of like being honest about what you particularly want, whether you want to be the hoe phase, whether you want commitment, whatever it is. But then from there, you need to express that to other people so that, like Philly said, you're on the same timelines as each other, so you can create something together. Or if you just want to sleep around, you can just sleep around. That's fine.
It goes back to vulnerability. How many people are vulnerable enough to say straight to your face, hey, listen, I just want to fuck and be out. Sorry, table head. I just want to fuck and be out. Not many people are willing to say that.
They let the ego come in and
I wouldn't say necessarily I want to fuck and be out. That's
right. I want to fuck and
I like the fucking humble side.
You don't say that. Right. Which doesn't allow me to make a decision on my time.
It's usually not said, right? It's more like behaviors and
it's not.
avoidance.
Sometimes it is, and then I can make a decision.
Sure.
And decide that that's not is or isn't what I want based on the person, but.
And it's always about the person.
It's always you gotta be rude about it. Is what I'm saying.
Listen, this is just general.
No, not you. I'm saying in general.
Because I hurt dudes' feelings all the time because they don't know how to be romantic.
Well, it's like those R&B songs back in the day used to be like, I'll give you the sun,
you
the moon,
with my father that I would know
But now songs are like, girl, what you want to fuck? Girl, do you want to fuck? Right? And so it's all cultural, you know. It's modern culture is that.
But I mean, that's kind of
there is something between that though. There's something between the moon and the stars, and I just want to fuck you. There's some like
in between that.
That's some shit. How come it's gotta be moon and stars?
I mean, I want you to go that distance, shoot your shot, baby. But I'm saying, like,
I want you to shoot your shot if I am not into it, and I'm really gonna let you know that I'm not ready.
I agree. I like there goes the communication part.
I'm just saying, like, I mean, obviously, I've been married for like a while.
Joe, are you married?
Like, I've been with my wife.
You're the only married.
We don't talk about Joe and his relationship.
Joe's not married. He's practically married.
Yeah, he's married.
I'm not married.
No, he's married.
Your common law.
Common law doesn't exist in California.
How long have you been?
He's done his
That's
research.
true.
Wait, what's
How
common
long
law?
have you been with your romance?
My answer is, will he answer the same way if Sonia was here?
I've had a long
Ooh,
fucking
absolutely.
I want to see it.
Oh.
And I'm not
Sonia, can you come out real quick, please?
Sonia, we got a special guest.
Now what?
Okay, but
Maybe I
continue
need
your
to
portion.
do some of
You
this,
said
I
you've
think
been
I'm-
married for a number
So,
of
I mean, I've been married for a long time, but I mean, I went through,
Yeah.
I was engaged out of high school. I had like the whole sweetheart thing, blah, 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 that I was in love. Fell out, and then I just went like on my fucking hoedown for the last like 6 years, right? Like
Yeah.
6 years. But I was one of those guys who, when I would meet a girl, when I realized, okay, this is not more than like a physical attraction, I would say like, hey,
What's up? What's
you know,
up?
like, I'm not feeling that, but I mean, you know, this is where I'm trying to go. And some girls would say, ugh, like, no. And some girls would be like,
All right.
yeah, some girls would be like, and some girls would be like, I'm not like that. And then like 2 months later, they'd be like, hey, so what's up? And I'm like,
Oh,
oh,
wow.
yeah,
She wasn't like that.
Because thugs get lonely too. Dude.
But like for me, it was like,
The salami would hit the pastrami.
There is a way of going about
yeah,
it.
and I wasn't like, hey, this is what I'm trying to do.
And I was, because I'm at a point where I'm at a point where I do want something serious. You know what I'm saying? Where I do want a family. I want to, do that whole pizzazz thing. And if that's not where you at, I respect it. That's cool. But don't waste my time.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So I will cut you off.
Yeah.
Like, and I had to do that recently. And I feel like on the other end, guys take it a little hard when girls cut things off a little quicker than they thought it was gonna get cut off. But if I give you chances and I tell you and I'm being honest with you, I expect you to do the same thing. Bring that same energy. If you're like, yo, like whatever, you fine as hell, whatever. I really wasn't trying to do the whole relationship thing. I'm just not at that state of mind. I will respect you for that. We could be friends, matter of fact. But when you go around and you're not being clear and honest with me, goodbye.
Yeah.
I don't there's no need
How
to.
soon is too soon for someone to hit you with that though, right?
Well, to hit me with that, you gotta feel it out. You gotta see the chemistry. Like, you be honest with yourself, feel the intuition. Like,
Right, read the room.
Right, yeah, read the room. You'll know if somebody's like,
I generally at this point, and then I'm gonna be saying something, but I generally try to get that out of the way as anytime it's about to, like, for the first time about to happen, I specifically.
but get what out of the way though?
Telling them where I'm at.
Okay.
And before it even happens,
like
because
intentions.
there's nothing worse than finding that out afterwards.
Yeah.
Right,
Do
right,
you-
of course.
It's like the equivalent of saying, also, I'm going to put on a condom.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
Because it's not sexy, right? The first go. Okay,
It's
wait. Before we do this, wait. I just want to make sure this is where I'm at, and I'm gonna wear a condom. That's cool, right?
That was the
that's
sexiest
like-
shit ever said
Yeah,
to me.
I was gonna say,
That
that's
was
weird.
the only time that a guy
You're
got
not-
me to be like out the strip club. I'm coming and I'm fucking you. He was like in his fantasy, he was telling me in my ear. He was like, and we're gonna put a condom on. I'm like, yes, I love you. Let's fuck. Sexy shit.
Teens
I
over
have
taking
four
fucking notes.
in jar.
Fucking iPhone.
He's like, I got all the condoms.
I got condoms, lube.
So I don't understand your analogy, is what I'm telling you.
What I was saying, I was just sharing where I personally believe it, whether it's the first date or not. Because I never put a judgment on someone for when something like that happens, right? Because you never know. Sometimes people's energy is different, and you're like, wow, this could. And so, right. You never know where people are, and so before I engage in that, I generally make the effort to let people know exactly where my head is at and where I'd like to see things go, so that it's not first we have sex and then they're like, but I thought this was going to be something.
Yeah, no.
Because you set the expectation at that point. There's not, oh, I didn't know, or oh, I thought this was, no. It's not.
Because I believe that there should be some level of respect for the person on that degree, and they should tell me the same thing if they're thinking. Because I've had the opposite, where after their sex they're like, wow, and so like, I guess we're a thing now.
can't drag and slam dick. Just you can't give that to everybody.
He dropped it so good that she thought y'all were married.
Wait.
I've had the thing where actually
You dropped the D too?
No.
He's lovable,
where girls have led me along the way of I've expressed like I want something long term, like I want a serious relationship, and they've led me down that path only to then after a while of being intimate with them, then they drop the bombshell of actually I was just trying to keep this casual the whole time. And
Wow, the whole time.
Yeah, and it's dishonest and it hurts.
Yeah.
But at the same time as when that happens, then finally I have that moment. And this is where I don't mean to play devil's advocate, but when I have girls tell me, let's just be friends, I don't. I respect that you don't want a relationship, but I'm not going to give you that, because one of the big things that I feel I do bring to a relationship is a level of emotional understanding, of
Being
helping,
a good
of
friend,
being there and being present. And I'm not going to give you that boyfriend privilege if you're not going to reciprocate for me. And that's the whole point. And that's the thing. It took a long time of going through many setbacks through LA dating culture, and then I finally found my girlfriend currently, Lois, who we're just so in sync on so many things.
Shout out to Lois.
Shout out to Lois.
If I hadn't trusted exactly what I wanted out of a relationship, if I allowed myself to go along with these, casual things, thinking that's all I'm worth, then I wouldn't have got such a perfect relationship that I now have.
And I respect you for not being a savage.
Yes.
Because most guys, they turn into women too, turn into savages. Correction, I ain't want to do that. They turn into savages when they get hurt like that. You know what I'm saying? Or not hurt, but
they're like, fuck
boundary.
But it's not about them, right? It's
about
understanding that
he held what he
they're
wanted,
a person,
and that's
they're
respecting
coming from a place of, either this is what they want, they're not that stage of life, maybe they've got their own hurt.
It's usually people who don't know what they want.
Why would I put that judgment on them? I'm better off just saying, look, I wish you nothing but the best, and then I myself will move on, you'll move on, I hope you have a wonderful life, and I will have a wonderful life.
Gotta know what you want.
Yeah, that's all it is.
And in LA, I will say that chicks are really, I'm gonna sound like I'm really bad, but they're really fucking bad. They're like,
she's having her pie. It's so cool.
Can you and in my community, I see we have a lot of male photographers, and then we have a lot of, girls, pinup girls. And I see girls getting these fantastic photo shoots. They're free. These photographers are really accomplished, and they'll hang out with them, and they'll take them to dinner after. And sometimes I work with these photographers, and I'm like, no, I paid you. We're done. No, you don't need to pay me. No, what's your rate? I'm gonna pay you because I'm not gonna string you along if someone that I'm interested in. And I absolutely see.
Oh, that's dope. Yeah.
I absolutely see women in my world using men, producers. It's live burlesque entertainment. It's lowbrow. We're making $30, $50, maybe $150 a show. It's not like it's big fucking money, but you get photo shoots, and the photographers will shoot with you. And I had a photographer. I've had many, but because I don't operate that way, I pay, but I've had photographers who I know shoot multiple times with these chicks, because I also see them coming to, whatever event that we're going to, or they're tagging along for dinners or roller skating things or whatever, and they'll quote me $500 for a shoot because I've established my boundary. I don't fuck around in the community. And even the photographer that I was fucking for a while, I absolutely did a straight trade for trade. I'm also a massage therapist. I needed him to shoot something for my friend and myself, and I traded him, even though we were fucking, a massage for doing the photography work, because I don't want to blur those lines.
Right.
But I see a ton of chicks in LA who are doing this shit, and I don't have a lot of respect for it. My sister is one of them. I know she won't listen to this because she doesn't do anything online, but my sister is one of them, and we've
my brother's a piece of shit too. So.
You know, like
which one?
I feel like she's in the headspace that she's at now because she did spend all the time doing music and all that shit and like working with people and forming these relationships that were based on quid pro quo, and like now she's kind of stuck in this space where she doesn't have anybody. You know,
It's a very thin
cultivate that shit.
It's a very
real.
It's a very thin line because let's be honest, you know, especially as I mean, not even just as a woman, because I like to talk in exclusive.
Sure.
Inclusive. As a woman or a man, there's a level of finesse. You know what I'm saying? And there's really people out there who are willing to just do something for you because they actually do like you, like just as a person and just your energy. But then again, there's other people who
will take advantage of that.
Who will take advantage of that.
I might do, but that's what I'm saying. Like I might do that because we like each other a little bit.
Right.
But I'm definitely gonna look for the opportunity to give back. And I see a lot of where a lot of women in LA are not at all looking for the opportunity to return that.
And that's where and there you go. That's where you create that barrier, and it has to be spoken. I'm a very big like communication person, especially when it comes to my business. Like I can, let's say I woo or whatever, finesse or charming, whatever word you want to call it. At the end of the day, business is business, and I will not cross. I'm not having a meeting with you at your house at 8:00 at night. Who has a business meeting? No offense if you do.
No.
You know, at 8:00 at night. I'm not discussing.
It depends on the industry, but yeah, I know what you mean.
But what industry?
This podcast started at
8 p.m. Sure, like
Yeah.
10 and after, maybe it starts to, like by the time it hits midnight, like nobody's having a business meeting.
Okay,
anymore.
but I really 8 p.m. Sure, but with who? What industry?
But if you're alone at a romantic dinner, that's not a business meeting. That's for sure.
Right.
But if you're meeting at a co-working space and there are a few other people working around,
I mean, that's different.
What if it's my house and my kids are playing in the living room?
Yeah, that.
And we're in the kitchen.
I mean, that's, you know,
And it
but you
depends
guys
on
know what I
I
mean.
ain't just be particular. Being very specific.
what if there's somebody crossing the street 6 blocks away?
Because, for example, I'm just gonna say it out. Weinstein, you know, he's on trial for that. You know, there were
somebody's inviting you
stories
late
by
night.
actors who have had meetings at his house, and he has asked them to do very inappropriate things at his house.
Yeah, when I was 18,
You know, and I'm not blaming any. You know, look at you.
No, legit. When I was 18, I met an old Hollywood person who was like, "Yo, I want to put you into Hollywood, kid. You're gonna be big with it, whatever this that. There's a big party we're gonna throw together. I have some people coming over. I want you to meet some people. You can come over."
Right.
I was like, "Okay." It's like, well, I'm in West Hollywood. I was like, "All right, cool." I show up to this apartment. It's only him.
Right. And what do you
There's
do?
pictures of all the famous people he's ever made. And I'm like, wow, what the fuck? And he says, he's like, kid, I'm gonna shoot straight with you. How much would you charge me so I can suck your cock? Legit. And I was like, fuck,
$50.
man.
What was it?
I was.
What was your number?
We could shed. We could make. You know, we could laugh about it, but in
But it's
reality,
true. No, you're right.
I felt
like
like,
this is
wow,
what
what
people
the
are getting
fuck?
all the time.
Yeah.
You know,
That shit scared me away from acting forever.
right? I can imagine how that.
I walked out of the house, like at his house, like, I fucking like ran to
And
it. I was
how
like,
was that fair to you?
I was
know
like,
what I'm saying?
this must happen to girls all the time. That's what I thought to myself.
Right. And how is that fucking fair? Like that's not okay to take away your dream and your idea of what this could have been for you because some asshole, some jerk, some horny ass motherfucker want to sit here and destroy that image, that idea for you. That's not okay. That's not cool. You know, so I feel like anybody who's listening out there right now, whatever career you in, you set the standards and the boundaries but how you want your business, which I mean your brand, to go. Do not let these people, listen, you play the game, but don't let the game play you. I know that's very cliche, but it's true. You finesse the situation until it gets to the point where you're like, I need to set some boundaries. You know, and when I say finesse, I mean a natural finesse. Just to be who you are, the charm. Get what you have to do, because we're all trying to get somewhere.
You need likability factor no matter what you're doing.
You know what I'm saying? We're all in business. Exactly.
Sure. And I will say to that point that there are a lot of people out there, men and women, who if they can get away with getting something for free, they will.
Yes, exactly.
I can't tell you how many people ever since I started doing video, like musicians in particular, will start inviting me to parties. But they're like, oh, by the way, bring your, and I'm like,
right,
damn it.
Because they'll invite you to the party first, and then like a day or two before the party, hey, by the way, bring your little,
just in case,
yeah, right.
But now, didn't you also get a casting director, a female casting director, to want to sleep with you?
There was also someone who, there was another older woman who also promised me. But they were like, I would ask them for scripts, they would send them to me, but then when I get there to record the audition, they'd be like, oh, can we do it tomorrow? Actually,
but for how many every Weinsteins you have there, how many other people that you don't know about?
No,
right.
Not just females, but I'm talking about other people.
Oh, just in general, yeah. Because I thought you were gonna give the comparison of women. I'm like, no, dude.
Well, it's the same thing about how guys are very uncomfortable saying about how they've been raped in society. Like it's a little bit more. There's definitely a big difference between the two.
That's a big
for instance,
job.
for instance, Philly's example of this female casting director, nobody would ever know about it at all.
Right.
And Philly would say that, and then you'd probably get some guys.
I was going to say, yeah. Should there be any empathy for me because I happen to be something that older casting director would assume, like, hey, of course he'd give into it. He's a guy, right? So, hey, actually, I just want to have sex.
The short answer is no. There shouldn't be empathy for men that it happens to.
And I'm not saying
at least not heavily. And that's the short answer. Because the long one tries to explain that yes, it might happen to men, but it doesn't happen to men at the rate that it happens.
Yeah, but it still has to be acknowledged that it does happen. If you exclude it from the conversation,
that's what I'm saying. The short answer is no, we shouldn't have as much.
A violation of anyone's privacy or anyone's personal safety is a violation, regardless of gender.
In general, yeah, that's the cover.
That's why I'm saying that the short answer is
yeah.
no. But
and it does so happen that the rate at which it happens to women is definitely higher than the rate that it happens to men.
I want to piggyback on that for sure. I just want to say, kudos to you on setting those boundaries with your, the people who you do business with, and kudos to you on the fact that you had a standard for how you wanted your life and your relationship to go, because a lot of men don't do that, and so I respect that, and and it's a bravery, it's a courage, because you guys, y'all man, I get it,
that was points for Sheila and Patrick. We just put that on the board.
Patrick has 2 points.
I wanted to go back to this situation because there's a man, there's a lot of there's this one man in West Hollywood right now. He's a politician. I don't know his name, but he has not been indicted yet or anything like that. But literally 3 or 4 young black men have been found dead in his apartment.
Yes.
Okay. Wow. Gay young black men have been found dead in his apartment of overdose, and he has yet to be arrested for that. So should men as well be empathize when it comes to being a victim of the Hollywood casting couch director scene? Hell yes, because there's people out there dying in the midst of that.
The problem is the Hollywood casting couch. Yeah.
I can't remember who he is, but he's not a politician.
Oh,
He's a big time donor.
Okay.
Politicians, and he ran
donor to politicians.
He ran.
They told me
a sex ring or something.
No, he ran a. What he ran was a rehab center.
Oh, wow.
So it's even worse that he's got these young men who have come there and then been found dead of overdose.
That's kind of the opposite.
Human beings that
right? Exactly.
Human beings who prey on on people who are recovering are
Piece of shits.
probably the worst human
They're not
beings
human beings at
imaginable
all.
because they're taking advantage of someone who's going through some shit.
And who has had the courage to come forth and say, I need help.
That shit is horrible.
This all ties back to relationships and people's ability or inability to do it properly, man. And, you know, it's like, obviously what is proper is subjective, you know, across the board. But there are some general standards, like don't hurt people. You
Yeah,
know?
but for sure.
But also tying back to one thing I wanted to like raise way ago is
excuses.
No, not even about that. How many of us were actually born in LA versus transplants?
Does
Born in
California count?
Born and
Brain
raised,
or
bred.
like
I'm a transplant.
Transplant.
So we're talking about like half the room
Yeah, half and
transplant. Yeah, half. That sadly I think is a big part of it, is that you get so many people with like we were saying, you know, dreams and aspirations who come to LA, and sadly there are when you have people aspiring for something, and you know it's such a moonshot for many people, whether it's entertainment,
They'll do
whether it's-
anything, yeah.
they'll do anything,
Yeah.
and then sadly that does attract a certain type of
Oh, yeah.
predatory. It's the same way that I'm a lapsed Catholic, so you used to believe in Catholicism, then no longer do so. But one of the big things when we started seeing the child sex abuse come out about the Catholic Church,
Right.
it kind of made sense, because if you were an evil person and wanted to inflict that harm, would you not go into that institution? In the same way of if you wanted to prey on people who, you know, will do anything,
Get a seat of power in Hollywood.
get a seat of power in Hollywood,
Or the
right?
music industry?
Right.
Yeah, so basically, you transplants just gotta get the fuck out of here because ruining the atmosphere.
Are you telling us to go back home where we came from, Joe? Tell us to get out of here.
All I care about is fucking traffic.
Are you gonna build a wall now?
I care about
Piling up our freeways,
I
we
know.
don't know how to drive in our rain.
And you know what?
Fuck off.
There
They
is
took our job.
there's with the moonshots, there is a degree of personal response. Like I was 18 years old, I was smart, and I was to some degree able-bodied enough to know, like, if I don't know this person, why the fuck would I just show up out of nowhere at a house?
Did you
right?
know about the casting couch at 18 years old? Because
Everyone hears about it. You know
That's
what
what I'm saying, like,
it's different
the
when you experience
when
it.
you-
Stop it, Phil.
Yeah.
You're blaming yourself for certain things that you didn't know. Don't let people think because, oh, you're 18, you should have known, and this, that, and the other. Everybody experienced
That's
different things
true,
at a different time.
And
In
goddamn
their
it, when
life.
you're 18,
You could have been fucking
necessarily know
25.
That's
and
true.
I
That's
would've-
true. That's true.
I shouldn't.
That's true.
tell
I'm
you-
30 and I'm barely learning that I don't know shit. So therefore, I know that I have to know shit.
Right.
So you're right. Like I'm working
You know-
hard to know shit. Yeah.
Right, and you're doing, and right now, and that's what I want to say. Kudos to you guys for creating a platform that we can talk about stuff like this, so that if anybody is listening, if anybody is wondering or struggling or needs to find certain signs about things like that, they would know. Okay, this is a little sketchy. I may not feel comfortable about this. Let me see if I can take control of my life, my brand, and say, hey, I won't be able to make it tonight. Can we have lunch another time?
Yeah.
You know, I'm available at this time to this time. If
Yeah.
that person's really fucking with you, they will meet you where you
when
need to be
you
met.
can.
I really like that you guys brought up the photography thing too, because it's a culture right now with Instagram and all social media that there are some vultures here. There are some people who, I mean, I've seen so many horror stories. There are dudes who are portraying themselves as professional photographers, and they're like, you know, they want the girls to do certain things in exchange. Like, don't worry about money.
Yeah.
What I'm looking for is, yeah. You know what I mean? It's like,
I have a particular, I hear a lot, I also hear a lot of horror stories on top of hearing a lot of women who are taking advantage of the situation, but then the flip side is horror stories because we model, we work with. I am an interesting case in that I was a stripper for a lot of years, and so I know how to navigate a situation.
yeah.
I don't need to cut you.
I'm
just- I'm sorry.
I can navigate a situation, but I got hit up by a photographer who's a really well-known photographer. He's done like TED Talks and everything. The photos, we did 2 photo shoots together. The 2 photo shoots that we did together were fucking fire. I know the person that I am, and it's when I got there, and he started acting a little bit weird, like, my penis does tricks, and I'm like, really?
Wow.
Okay, boy.
Why is that relevant to this photo shoot?
Right, or I do better when, and I was like, and for me, I have a particular level of comfort because I have run in a few worlds.
Right.
I'm like, and I have a little bit of dom sort of through. I'm like, all right, fine, but you stay over there, you don't fucking touch me. Because I know that he's a really, really well-known, like I said, TED Talks. So it was a free shoot for me. And for me, I also am like, fine, I went ahead and entertained your dick tricks and I got a $1,500 shoot out of it. 2 of them.
Wait, so you saw what his trick was?
Yeah, I did.
It was a trick.
It was a stupid trick.
I'm sure it's a stupid trick.
Literally after,
Did
I
it
was
talk
like,
or? Oh.
I think almost every dude can do that.
He made it bounce, didn't he?
I can make it jump.
Thank you.
I'm so glad he didn't touch you or try to touch you.
Bro.
I can make my tricks look better touching you or getting close to you.
Yeah, no, but I also run in a lot of realms, so I know. So there's a lot of situations where I have where I've looked at where I feel so bad because sometimes I'm like, okay, but I know that you put yourself in that situation.
Right. I'm a 0 to 100 type of person.
Right? I'm like, a lot of girls are dumb, but they're dumb because their moms weren't like, let me show you how to keep a man. Because what comes with let me show you how to keep a man is also what's a man after.
Mm-hmm.
And
Girl, you know.
and
That thing.
Oh, we got the quartets up in here.
Get it.
but I also know, me, but let me do the flip side of this. I have also run a bit in the BDSM kink community. They're very big on consent. So this photographer asked me along the way if it was all right with me.
Oh, wait a minute. I thought you were straight up.
So I also
Okay.
didn't go on social media. I mean, I'm not saying his name.
Of course,
Because
So it was a low-key agreement, like, I know what you want, I'll allow
Wait, because
it.
the way you start off the story sounded like you just, the first time you saw you.
But I know myself. I know my boundaries,
Yeah.
and I've got some wits about me, as my daughter says.
Yeah.
That I'm like, but I'm gonna put myself completely in control of this situation.
Right.
Now, the second shoot that we did, again, fire. He expressed his want to do more blatantly, and I blatantly was like, no. And we haven't shot again. It's fine.
No, and I see how, like you said, this is a world that you're familiar with. This is a world that, you can maneuver around. You know what I'm saying? So that makes sense. Like, but if I'm like a new...
But then when I get to the point where I'm like...
Right, you cut it off. But if I'm like a brand new model just trying to get up in the game or whatever, that's why I can't be in that work because I will go 0 to 100 real quick. I might end up on Snap. I don't know. I really
Kill somebody.
I mean, listen, I just could.
Those aren't characters.
I mean,
let's not even to be funny. Let's be honest. Like people, you don't know that world.
Yeah, we don't.
You know what I'm saying? So you're over here in survival mode. I'm over here thinking I'm about to meet up with a bomb ass photographer, and everything's gonna go well. And he's talking about doing dick tricks with me. I don't know how to do. I don't know what's gonna happen next. You know what I'm saying? So of course I'm gonna feel the situation out. But you ever hear those stories? Oh, I never thought he would have did something like that.
Right.
I wouldn't think. No, I wasn't thinking. Is what it was. I went from whatever to black.
Yeah.
To protecting myself to whatever.
That's why you have to take as many opportunities to meet people and leave the opportunity for mistakes to be made in the way they say things or in the things that they do before you go alone into privacy with them. And I don't care how much of a power meeting or how powerful they are and how much time they have or don't have. If you can't get a couple of rounds of meetings, and even then you'll never know. People can be on their best. I mean, people get married and then suddenly people are no longer in their best fucking behavior, right? So you never really know. But it does behoove you, if you will, if you are listening and you are younger in the game in general, to take as many meetings while making them productive as possible, whether you're dating someone or looking to work with someone who is more in a position of more power than you in the industry, it's always best to extend your relationship as much as possible in social circumstances before going into the private realm, because things like that can't happen.
Just know
Listen,
that.
look
I'm not at all condoning like jumping into a situation. I know my shit.
That's what I'm saying.
I know this realm.
It's like the Louis C.K. thing, right? Where he said that he told them, hey, you came over to my house, but by the way, I want to take my dick out right now. I just want to let you know. And then these comedians, right, were like, I can't believe my hero did that. And I felt trapped inside the apartment.
No, you say no.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
and you leave.
Like I said, like
situations.
Louis C.K. is he has a bit of a presence in the kink community, and that's when it's so like even R. Kelly has a presence in the kink community. He found his way around his shit, and there's a lot of those women who were just young women who didn't understand what they were getting into. They thought, ooh, I'm kinky, and they just jumped into it, and so I feel bad for them, but also there's like contracts that are involved and whatnot. And so I'm just like, I know that. And so sometimes it's hard for me to be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna jump on board with this. R. Kelly is a fucking rapist, whatever, because I also know the other side
of it. Yeah, because you can see it from both perspectives.
That there are
that we don't see.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We just looking at him like, really? You was hanging around high school, situations, we don't see that. We don't see that. And granted, that's what Centonia Brown, I think that's her last name.
Yes.
She just got released from jail because she was in jail for killing a man that was supposedly a part of her a prostitute ring that she was a part of. He was her pimp.
Really, I haven't heard about this at all.
Centonia, you probably look it up. And Kim Kardashian who helped her get out? And
that person,
right?
Shit.
And I'm bringing that up because I don't know.
Those are captive, right? He was her like
basically
like a sex trafficking situation or a prostitute situation. Right. But I think it came to a point where there was about to be some sexual abuse, or I don't know the depth of the story, but she killed him out of self. With her, from her view, was self-defense. Right. And she was 16 at the time when she was convicted of the murder, or the whole, I don't know the terms, y'all, but
sure. No, you're right.
But she's freed now, and a lot of people feel some type of way about it because it's like
because Trump freed her.
They feel it because of that, as well as the fact that, again, it's the world that she was familiar with, that she knew what she was kind of quote unquote getting into. By a certain age, you should know what you're getting into. But that's not fair to the point where, like, I'm in this world, I know this world. There's still boundaries in this world. You know what I'm saying? I should still be able to protect myself in this world.
At 16, yeah. No,
you know what I'm saying?
So the people still want her in prison? Is that the thing?
Yes.
Yeah.
They feel like
they're only mad if Kim Kardashian had Obama help her get out, it'd be fine. But because Kim Kardashian got Trump to pardon her, it's a big deal.
Right. Well,
she's also using her in her advertising now for her new products as well. Kim Kardashian is. So a lot of people are feeling a certain way about that.
Oh, I
mean, like she's exploiting her troubles.
Like she's the everyday woman using some Spanx looking things or something she's doing.
Oh, it's her product line.
So she's using that same woman in her promos. Hey, I'm an average woman and look at me. At the same time, it's kind of like, I also owe my freedom to Kim Kardashian.
Yeah, exactly.
Sounds like a nice trade-off.
Sub or the dom in the situation?
Huh?
What do you mean?
Well,
she had to have been the sub.
In that situation, she was pimped out. So the guy that she killed was somebody who paid for her time.
Okay.
So
fair.
She killed him because she was afraid for her life. She said he had many guns in the house, and that's where she got the money from to shoot this guy, because he was some older dude, and she felt just like her space was threatened.
Lost my radar. That makes sense to me that Trump would be on it because Melania is a sex worker and I don't give a shit what anybody says. Not that it's a bad thing, because that's part of my bid for president. You're gonna be my vice president.
Wait, we're voting for Philly for president.
No, he's gonna be my vice president.
Damn,
Wait a minute, hold on.
ousted.
Are we having a political war right now?
No, we're not. You know why? Because he's younger than me. And because that extends his reach, because he'll still be eligible for presidency when he's fucking ready, but he ain't ready yet.
Hey,
Wait, can you get behind that?
Yes.
Hey, you know what? I believe it was Ralph Waldo Emerson who said, and this quote was put in How to Win Friends and Influence People that I read at the age of 14, that said, you know, every man is better than me, and I think what he meant is every human, right? I'm gonna leave it at that. That's how I read it. Is better than me, and in that respect, I learn of them. Mm-hmm. And often, that's really how I approach the situation. I can't tell you how many people have criticized me because I actually listen to people in a way where I'm hoping to learn something from them. They're like, you let them influence you? You know what I mean? And in my head, I'm like, no, I have had people criticize me for allowing myself to be influenced.
Because it's abnormal. That's really what it is. It's like, it's so weird to say like that people being nice to you is abnormal. You know, people being genuine, being like having actual like interest in you is a weird concept to people. Like, what do you really want?
Right.
Why? Or
Why are you talking
People
about
will
that?
always have ulterior motives,
Yeah.
and
people just can't be nice. They just can't be nice because it's always like,
when we're young, we don't see
Do you
each
truly
other.
believe this, or are you just saying this as a
no, I'm saying, I really believe it. Like,
that people just can't be nice?
no, I don't believe that. I'm saying
Oh,
people
Being
believe that.
sarcastic about
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I was
People do
asking.
believe that.
Yeah.
I was like, because I was wondering, because I was like,
Wait a minute, I want to agree, but I don't know if I should agree.
I grew up in the 90s, like in South LA, so I lived on 78th Hoover, like during the riots and all that stuff. So that's what I'm saying. Like, part of like growing up for me was like survival mode, right? Mm-hmm. So as I've grown up, I've kind of had to like retrain myself to realize like not everybody's not out to get you. You know, some people are just not. And I've kind of like, as I've gotten older, I valued it more. So when I come across people like, first time I met Phil, I'll tell you exactly what it was. It was Nick's party. Yeah. He was in the fucking kitchen dancing like Michael Jackson.
Sounds about
And I was like, and he was Phil, right? So like, I came across him. We had like a great conversation. I'm like, oh, cool, nice guy. He's out there, he's dancing. The next day, he texted me like at 7 a.m. This positive ass like group text.
Oh, that's right. Actually, I got a lot of flack for that. There was a lot of boyfriends, and I sent it to everyone, but they were like, "Don't fucking talk to my girl, bro." And I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
It was like some crazy, super motivational shit.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And I was just like, in the morning, I was like, oh, I like this guy.
Right.
Yeah, in the morning. But most people would be like, what the fuck's wrong with this dude? Like, why is he?
Dude, I started that meme quote shit before it was ever a thing on Instagram, dude.
You guys want to know something crazy? That Ray met both of us separately at different situations and didn't even know that we were related.
Oh,
I didn't.
It's crazy.
Who's related?
Phil and I are related.
Oh, what are you guys?
Cousins.
Okay. Mind you, guys, I'm still getting to know everybody here. So like, I didn't even know his sarcasm. I was asking because I genuinely wanted to know. Was that how you truly
It's
felt?
funny because we used to look a lot more alike, but over the years,
He got uglier. You know, it's weird.
I
It's
just
weird.
He started using big words like booze.
I know.
When was that you guys looked more
Oh,
alike?
excuse me. Sorry, guys. Okay, real quick. Speaking of big words, since this is a great segue, good job, Pat. Good job.
Well, Billy uses the word behoove like every time I see him. He's always like, it would behoove you. Just like,
So, okay.
what is this Edwardian shit coming out? Oh, sorry.
So,
Let me make you a pot of tea, dear sir.
So Patrick has his own platform that he calls Words with Ward.
Yeah.
And last time he was on his show, we incorporated his Words with Ward. So I kind of want to do that right now. Basically, you want to explain that?
Yeah,
Pat?
sure. We'll let that. Sorry. So I run my own show called Words with Ward, and I ask people two questions. One word they would like people to use more of. It doesn't necessarily have to be a word, it could be a phrase or a concept. And one word you would like people to use less of. And I just find it very interesting. The inspiration for this was I'm a writer by trade. I've always liked words and how you can use different word choices to make seemingly the
fucking
same.
Ambulance. Whatever else is in the background.
But you can use words seemingly very similar, but depending on what word choice you use, it can make your point entirely different. And so I think it's very interesting hearing what people's like one word is that they like more and less of, because I think it says a lot about what people value, what this type of society they want to see created.
For example, Keenan's last word he'd like to see people use more was, what was it, Keenan?
Queefing.
That's the word he'd like to see
Say it
people
with
use
your
more.
chest. Keep it, say it with your chest.
Say with your chest. Queef.
I would like to put
So no, let's start with Sheila.
No, well, I'm gonna say that's never gonna happen for me because my real name is Kiva, and
It rhymes?
in middle school
They knew what that
called
was?
me- well,
Quiva.
I'm gonna even be real. My real full name is Lakiva, and they called me Laquifa, and I'll never use that word. That's horrible.
That's terrible.
Damn.
So
I meant the physical action.
with that, let's start with you.
Keenan's like, well, fuck me then. Shit.
These days,
Right off the top, right off. It doesn't have,
these days, I
obviously.
would love to see people use the word triggered less, and in replacement use affected.
I like that.
Yeah.
Hey.
I'm triggered.
Yeah, as an artist, art like with I'm mostly just a strip teaser. I have my own inner dialogue that not everyone necessarily knows, but I do see other performers who tackle some really big issues in some unconventional ways, and people will be like, I'm triggered, and get the fuck out of it instead of addressing why they feel why they are affected that
Right.
way.
Got it.
People are trying to censor art, but also be liberal and stupid.
It's great because you were able to respond to that pretty fast. You know, just being introduced to the concept. So it kind
Joe
of
took forever first time.
I really did.
I'm struggling right now.
But
Like
the
Joe.
fact that you were able to do it fast, it means it kind of goes to show that people really do have words or phrases or things that they really think about. Like, like that's right off the top of your head.
I also love words like Patrick does. I'm that person who's really obnoxious. Part of the reason why my relationships fail is because I'm like, that's not how that word is used. So I need to understand
Grammar,
how
please.
you're using it right now. Because I feel this way, but I'm not sure.
I know the term is.
Offended by what you just said. It was improper.
But I'm not sure if that's what you need.
I'm triggered. But yeah,
So Nerlene, we like, what's your
Mine?
words you like to see used more, and word you'd like to see,
more, and one word you'd like.
Statuesque.
statuesque.
Yes.
Not me.
I guess an
It's
ego.
very regal. It's very
That's the word you'd like to see used more.
more.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very regal. It's very like I used it in an audition recently, and I feel like that word is what got me the call back.
Okay.
Nice.
Because they asked me what was I most proud of when it came to being African American, and I was talking our hair, and how it's just very statuesque, like it's our crown. Sometimes it says hello before I do. It represents all of our personalities depending on how we're feeling, the mood, whatever the day, bad hair day, good hair day, whatever the case may be. And that was what they asked me in the audition, but I feel that could go for anybody.
Right.
What do you like most about yourself type of thing. And I felt like my hair was the most thing I like. This is bigger than life, like me,
Right.
Type of thing. What I hate hearing the most, I had a word the other day, but I can't remember it. But the word that I really do hate is stupid. Stupid and weird. Those two words, I don't
You
like.
only get to choose one.
I don't get to choose one.
You can be flexible with it. It's the same concept.
What's your game, Philip?
Well, I'm gonna go with weird then, because a lot of people use weird in a negative term, and I think that people are weird only because other people don't take the time to understand each other or understand the next person, and that's why they consider them weird. Mm-hmm. You don't know me to understand me, so that's why you consider me weird. But if you actually took the time to get to know me,
then you find out I'm weird,
and you find out that,
and that's a-okay,
and that's a-okay. But the weirdness is coming from a good place, and just a place of ownership of my personality, ownership of who I am. Right. I wish weird could be used in a more positive way than it is a negative. That would be my 2 words.
Maybe you would be the living embodiment of that.
I like that.
You haven't said much tonight, Marcus, but goddamn, coming in with everything. Ooh, I love it.
His voice was a little deeper when he said it too.
I know. Hey, you felt a little slight
Damn. I felt my diaphragm punching.
I felt that
half-court shot on that one.
As a matter of fact, I do connect with that and relate to that, because I love people being their wholeheartedly their own self, their own personality, and whether that's a weird or not weird or whatever people consider whatever the fucking norm is. I'd rather be weird than the norm, because it causes us to be individuals and be our individual
So because
selves.
You want to see it used,
and it's more exciting.
Less, you're like, well, then I'll be even more weird until you get used to it.
Right. You know, or until you accept it, because, and not even until you accept it, whether you accept it or not, this is me. I love me, and I'm going to be the weird me, you know, and I love that whole idea of weirdness. So weird would be the word.
Mr. Ray, great.
I think we're going to skip us because we did it last time and go to the guest.
No, Ray.
Ray. I'm saying we're going to skip us, right?
Unless you have do you have to have only one for your whole life, or can you?
Just to jump in quickly before Ray's one, and to what Philly was saying, it was like, oh, you can't have 2 words. It's not even really about the words.
Well,
the words is the catalyst to reveal something about what you value, right? Because words mean something,
when people start using,
I was just fucking with Keenan
throwing out.
Say it to the microphone.
This is a group transfer. But I meant for the our word together.
Our word together?
Yeah, I thought I could at least present.
Well, that's the point.
Yeah,
right?
you can present whatever.
When you use words,
when it's your turn, you can do whatever you want, kid.
Right, like that's the whole thing that I've tried to achieve out of this, is getting people to use words consciously. Because what I found through doing this series is that often the words that people use, like let's just take your couple with triggered and affected, 2 very, essentially simple words, right? They're not like, grandiose, verbose words. They're very simple, but that's the thing. When you consciously choose the right words to use, you'll be more effective in your communication, and you'll create the type of impact you want, because like words drive then our thoughts, drive then our actions, drive then how we show up in the world, how others relate to us, how we connect as a community. Like it precipitates everything in our life. And so that's the point. I want people to think, are there words that maybe I'm using that aren't serving me in the type of impact that I want to make on the world? And that's really the whole point of the series. It isn't necessarily what the words are, it's what the words then represent for your life.
That's why I stopped calling myself a pimp, man.
Ray.
Okay,
I'm Ray.
So what were you going to say, Ray?
He's like, whoa.
Equality is probably like the word that I would feel like people should use less, because I don't feel like anything will ever be equal, and I feel it's like kind of like a journey that we're like never gonna get to the end of. I feel like we are who we are, and as soon as you start saying like this is not equal because of this, it'll never be equal. Nothing will ever be itself. Nothing will ever be its whole self if you always have like a measuring stick towards it. You can never be fully who you are if you're constantly being measured against somebody else, So it's like even like the whole concept of like, women being equal to men. And I'm not saying it's not like unequal, but I'm saying like that whole constant like journey of everything has to be, that'll never happen, just because at that point we'll also have to like impact maybe certain men that are capable of doing something just in order to have that equality, I guess. I don't know if it's making sense or not, but
I think I know what
you know what I mean? I'm not,
And I agree with you in the sense of the whole equality. I think that it's the fact that people think that, oh, because you're not this specific person or you're not a man, that you can't do this type of thing. Like, I don't like that.
It doesn't give you like that whole value of it.
Right. You know, and I think that's where, like, oh, because I'm a woman, I can't do construction work. Like, I get where you're coming. The equality I feel like you're coming from is the equality of just, you know, who we are as people.
Yeah,
like,
I'm merely coming from the fact of like the way you like your specific outlook on life. Because I feel like if you're always like in that mindset where I'm the victim, I'm always in this box, then it's really hard to get out of the box, especially unless you kind of get yourself out of that box. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying is that there's not those social justice. I'm not saying that they're not there, but I feel like they're more like. They're heavier when you have that mindset, you know, like, this is what it is, this is what I am, this is what I'm fighting against. I get that to an extent, but also if you can't liberate your mind, you know, how will you ever really liberate yourself in general, you know what I mean?
I got a lot to say to that, but I want you to finish your thought with
that's really what I'm saying.
What's the word you want to get used more than?
Perfect example. Remember when we were at SMC? Well, I don't even know about that one.
Okay.
Remember when we were at SMC, you guys had that whole women's empowerment.
Right.
So this is the perfect example. Like back in the day, Joe's club at SMC had this whole women's empowerment. What was it, like a coffee house?
Yeah, we had like a coffee house event.
So our club was a two-student union, was not known for like the political correctness and all that stuff. We came, and I was just there. I wasn't even like against. I have 3 sisters, mom. You know, I'm the oldest of 5. But I was just presenting like different perspectives, and I was attacked. Like I was against the cause, and I wasn't even like against the cause. Huh? No, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not even saying that. Like, I understood what was happening, but it was hard to kind of convey to people that already felt like you felt a certain way. Everyone's like, "Oh, you're this and you're that." I'm like, I'm not that. I'm definitely not that, because I have a mom who I love very much. I have 3 younger sisters who I all love very much. I've never told them, "Hey, you can't do this, you can't do that." I've never felt like that. But I just kind of felt like the same way I was saying, like, but if you kind of always come from that perspective, it's kind of hard to not see it in that perspective. You know what I mean? Like, as long as you're seeing it, as long as you can see that you're coming from that perspective, I feel like this is a different conversation. But when you're not seeing it that way, it's always going to be your truth. Okay. It's kind of how I feel.
I get what you're saying.
I get what you're saying. However, to kind of rebuttal that in a sense of, what did you say initially as far as
equality?
I thought it's overused.
Equality, but the idea of, okay, I'll agree with you on the aspect of you can't have everything equal amongst people. It's like saying we're going to give a test to a fish to climb a tree. A fish can never climb a tree. It's almost a fish. A woman is not meant to do the same things as a man can do. We serve different purposes. The reason why I was going to come at you a little bit is the idea of
he was like,
the psychological process that you said that people fall into when they try to compare themselves. And I do not mean to take it there, because I struggle with both sides, because I'm Black and Latino. So the idea of what they have done to our people, brown and Black, giving us the notion that we are only able to reach a certain amount of success unless we, dribble a ball, unless we go to college, which is bullshit.
Unless we cut some grass.
Unless we cut some grass, unless we work for somebody in the strawberry fields that never really will amount to anything. Those things are put on us by other people. Mm-hmm. Now, the idea that I feel equality in that sense, you would have to find the equality within yourselves to align yourself as one person with God, and take man out of the equation, or the next person out of the equation. So
you're saying there is some psychological baggage that has been handed
yes.
There's some psychological baggage that's been handed to people of color in general that you're saying, because the idea is that Ray was bringing up, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm just trying to get this a little more connected, that if you always see something as an obstacle, it will continue to remain an obstacle to you unless you're aware that you see it as an obstacle and you're committed to not letting that be the reason why you can never overcome it.
Yeah.
Is what I think he's saying. And you're saying, as long as we make sure that we acknowledge that there is psychological baggage that has been handed or inherited, and it may be a little more difficult than to just say it's something that as long as you stay stuck with it, you'll never overcome. That's where you're coming from.
Essentially,
So
yes.
that's what you guys are both
And we
saying.
have a third opinion.
So, again, replacing equality with fair,
True. I like that.
equal with fair, because shit's not always equal.
Yeah.
Not everyone's gonna get a big fucking mansion. That's gonna be based on
That's why communism doesn't work.
What you do, how
Facts.
much what you do is valued in society. You chose to do the thing that you do. How much do you, value a big giant mansion versus all your time with your family?
Yeah.
But shit should definitely be fair.
Of course, yes.
As a starting point, equal is not.
But it's like a never-ending journey. Is what I
Right.
think. We'll never get to that. But as soon as you understand, okay, things will never be fair, but that's okay.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that it
Things
takes
will
away
never
from your
be
truth.
equal, but things should be fair.
Of course.
Right.
And I think that's one of the things the work that I do, like in my community, it's just like talking to people, and just, when you see right-wing people criticizing left-wing people talking about equality, it's because in their mindset, they're like, but I earned this, or I was entitled. Mostly it's that they're entitled, but they think that they earned
Entitlement is
it.
a huge thing.
And so they're like people who are whatever in that upper echelon of society, they're scared of that word equality because that would level them out.
Yeah.
But when you meet them with the word fair, they're like, oh.
But we do have to remember this is Ray's word. So
Well,
It
just to quickly
No, it's an
dovetail,
awesome word.
just to quickly dovetail off that,
To
like I
have a
am,
conversation.
technically speaking, an immigrant, but I'll be the first to admit, and I've told people before my immigrant story, and they're like, wow, that's kind of crazy, and I'll be the first to say, yeah, but I don't suffer as much as an immigrant of color, and I can be fully cognizant of that. And so, when people say, oh, that's like such a bad thing, it's like, yeah, but you shouldn't be worrying about my immigrant story. You should be concerned about the families who are getting ripped apart, or the people who have done like literally their bachelor's, master's, PhD, have given everything to America, and then America says, all right,
Get out.
goodbye, get out. Meanwhile, I, through sheer good fortune, winning the green card lottery, I'm here, and America is like, oh yeah, and the funny thing is, I encountered this when I went to a farmers convention, and I met some people from Kentucky, and very hospitable, that southern hospitality, but then they started talking about political issues, and obviously they were Trump voters, and they would say things like, oh yeah, all these immigrants like flooding into the country, and because I'm a cheeky little devil, I was like, but I'm an immigrant, and they said without, stone cold sober, you're the right sort of immigrant.
Wow.
And I immediately thought, sorry, was that the white sort of immigrant?
Yeah, exactly.
You meant the white sort of immigrant.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And it's, wow, that's. I was actually in there with you, bro, with that conversation. But let me get back on a positive note.
And let's not forget this is Ray's word.
I was saying, I wanted to piggyback to Ray. I get what Ray was saying about not becoming a victim to equality, because equality to me was man-made. You know what I'm saying? It was a level of middle class, whatever, middle class, poor class, high class, that whole thing.
A class issue, yeah.
A class issue that is in essence not even real. So whether it's real or not, or reality or whatever it is, as long as you face it head on and understand that this is a common thing that is not going to change, how do you get past that where it doesn't
affect your life
and who
And you open a fucking can of worms here, right?
Yeah,
I know you've clearly like.
He was like, let me choose a word that'll really fuck him up.
No, you really done that already though, man, and that's exemplary even in your own life.
Well,
you know what I'm
I wish I
saying?
believed most of it. I mean, it's a process. No.
Do you have a word you'd like to see used?
Less.
More.
More.
You didn't think about that one.
Yeah, that's
We're giving you a long time to do.
I know.
We had to do this for Joe. We had to literally go through a whole rationale of how words work. I think it's literally like 10, 15 minutes. And with that being said, Joe, we've given you enough time. You must have your words now.
But now I have something. I have to
See, that's why we don't need to skip.
Yes, we are gonna skip.
It was really just a skip.
I think love is like a whole like stigma behind
That's
it.
very PC
Like,
of
as
you.
soon as you say love, it's
do
like,
them two
oh my god,
first.
you've opened like a whole Pandora's box.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Hold on, because I want him to go with this time.
So you said the word you'd like to see used more is love?
Love, yeah. Because I think like, I mean, I've only to speak from my perspective, but obviously growing up like Mexican, you know, you don't get that word a lot, like in the Latino culture, especially as a man. You don't get like, I can count how many times my dad told me he loved me like on 2 fingers.
Oh shit!
Literally 2 fingers, you know, and growing up, and I know it impacts me now as an adult, even though I know my dad loves me and I know what his struggles were growing up.
Hey, I'm here, aren't I?
Exactly. Well, pretty much, yeah, right. But it's like I understand, like, you know, he grew up probably with less than that than I did. Like he was probably like, "Damn, Dad, you ever gonna say love?" Like ever, right? It was like, "Hey, go out, milk the fucking cows."
Right.
You know, go out, make sure that the chickens have been fed.
Super savage.
You know, you got food on the table. There you go, bro. What do you mean? What do you mean I don't love you? You know. So for me, it's like I feel like love, and especially like in this culture, it's like it's like
in the Latin culture.
No, I'm in the American culture. It's like it's treated so like differently. Like as soon as you say love, it's like you tell somebody you love them. Oh, shit, what do you mean? Like it's a game changer, right?
It's been abused.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like, and I feel like it's.
I'll get to that.
But I feel like it's not used enough. You know.
Well, people are even like, "Oh my god, I love."
Or in the right context.
In the right context. Yeah, that's probably
In the
the right
right
way to say it.
context,
In the right
yeah.
context. Because I do feel like you go, "Oh my god, I love that." I love. But when you say, "Hey, you know,"
I absolutely love the McRib. Love it.
I mean, that's justifiably so.
He said, "Hey,
I love
He's like, don't you dare go to the McRib.
Why are you shitting on the McRib?
Right? What the McRib have to do with this?
I haven't had the McRib in over 10 years.
I've never had it myself. It's gross. It looks gross.
That's just saltiness.
Yeah. Anything that someone's gonna call towards my.
That's a good one. All right.
Yeah.
For me, real quick, I already got it.
Wait, they have never done it. We should.
Yeah, I was
do
gonna
this.
say, since we've done this.
Marcus, go ahead.
I have some sort of say in this podcast.
You do. Okay. Marcus,
Way to draw that line.
you haven't been saying much, Keenan. You've been very docile.
I've been letting people talk because I want to listen. And
That's
learn.
right, Keenan.
You've done
Stand
a good
up.
job.
and-
I just told you did a good job. I love you, Joe.
Marcus, I love you too.
My word that I would like to hear more of is present.
Present?
Present. I find that, and I can only speak for myself, I have this tendency to run with my thoughts, being slightly more introvert. So I can be in a crowd of people and just be somewhere else versus being in a crowd of people and catch moments. And then those moments where I am present, it's just a certain beauty in that. Or even when, you know, I'm creating or something like that, when I'm playing keys or I got this idea, I'm already trying to think of the next beat. And I'm like, whoa, come back, because you're still here at this moment creating this idea. Embellish that, run with it. And then even the idea of being present and being afraid of being present, that's a trip. That's another story.
Yeah.
That could go somewhere over there. But. The word that I would use less. Damn, I did not think of this.
You had so much time, dude.
I would say actually no.
Being present.
I touched on it. It's fear. Fear. I feel like we submit to our fears way too much. Once again, only speaking from, my own perception of what it is to be alive. I'm guilty of that. Super guilty of not making the right move or not doing something because I'm afraid to see the success in it versus, what I acknowledge, which is probably most likely the failure. Yeah, those were my 2 words.
Good job.
Yeah, short and sweet.
Did you just pat me on the back?
I'd like to see less pats on my back.
It's like, good job, son. Good job. Good job.
All right, Sean.
All right, so my word that I would use less is kind of piggybacking off of Ray's word that he was using.
No
more.
piggybacking.
So the word that I would use a little bit less is actually love, because being a capo, right? People tell me they love me all the fucking time. And sometimes it gets to the point where it seems ungenuine. You know what I mean? And it ties into like, how people abuse the fuck out of that shit. Like, oh, I love pumpkin spice lattes, or, oh, I fucking love our capo. Or, like, not to say that they don't. Like, when it comes to like Tigers and stuff, right? TSG, like, I feel that love because, even outside of LAFC, they reach out to me and stuff, and they ask me how I'm doing and stuff.
Yo, I just did it a couple days ago.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So like, when it's like that, I'm totally okay with that. Like, that's 100% acceptable to me. But like, if the only time you say it is when you're drunk and like we're at an LAFC function and like, like that's the only time you say it, it just kind of, it takes the love out of it.
You know what I mean? Let me ask you a question though. What if it's coming from somebody who normally doesn't describe feelings that way? So what if it's somebody who doesn't?
If it's like, and
it's like that's what he's saying. He wants it to come from a genuine.
Yeah, like as long as it's genuine, man. Like I have no problems with it. But it's like sometimes people like they're like, oh, TSG, I fucking love TSG, but they don't come to any of our things. Like they don't, support us and really like like people like that. And not to say that people within the 3252 themselves like the other SGs.
What is that?
The 3252 is the union of all the groups,
right?
All the supporter groups.
And I'm not trying to say that those other groups don't support us and stuff, but the people that are not within those groups that are also season ticket supporters come up to us and they're like, oh yeah, I fucking love you guys, but it's like we don't even know who the fuck they are. You know what I mean? They don't even know who the fuck I am. They don't even know me by my real name. So you know what I mean? Like
you're
that's what I mean.
Right?
So you're
El Capo, right?
To
me they're
used in vain.
Yeah, well to them I'm just Parquita. You know what I mean? I'm not Sean to them. But as soon as I become Sean and they still say that to me, that's when it becomes, important. And that's when it means a lot to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
you make an excellent point, and this is something I've noticed very much about American culture of excessively using superlatives. Everything's amazing. I love everything.
Yeah.
And that's why, people, and I notice Americans get really tripped out when they ask like, how does something like, taste, or how was this experience? It's like, it's all right. Or it's pretty good. Like, only that. It's like, why? Because when it is a moment or an experience or anything like that is that incredible, I want the person to know that, yes, I really mean this word. Like, you need scale with your words. Like, if I'm going to tell you I love you, I want that to mean something to you.
Right.
I can't just use it flippantly. And I know this as a marketer because we overuse words all the time, and it just ruins them.
Straight
up.
up.
It ruins the meaning behind them.
That's amazing, Patrick.
If a word doesn't have meaning behind it, then you're not actually using words in the way they're meant to be, which is to communicate a point, right? Why do we use words? We use words to communicate a point or a feeling or an emotion, and that's why you need to be careful with how you use them. So I love that you raised that, like, don't just excessively use a word, or don't use it disingenuously. And you see that all the time in LA. You see, it's like, oh, we love you guys so much, like all that, and then but then they don't back it up with any action. Like, words are great, but back it up with the action. Then you actually show some credibility behind what you're saying.
And what's the word that you like to see more?
That's I didn't think about that.
And I love how you guys have
time, man.
different
Yeah.
Love you.
Different reasons for the word
Word
love.
love.
Yeah.
And you know, just to add to that a little bit, not to say that, you know, when people say they love me and stuff, I don't believe them or anything, and I will reciprocate that love 100%. You know what I mean? But it's just as long as it's genuine, man. That's all I care about. That's all that matters to me.
Yeah.
That's all that matters.
Tell me
We'll
it's
let you
real.
think
So what's
about
the
your
word?
other words, and I'll say
Yeah.
like as far as using like superlatives, the dude that I've been seeing that I haven't figured out what I'm gonna do with.
Let's brainstorm.
Look at this boy. What do I
He
want to
gets
do
this
with him?
like weird tone because he'll be, "Oh, how was your show?" I'm like, "It's all right." And I'm like, first of all, dude, like I've been doing this at least once a week for 8 years. Most of the time, it's just a regular show. He's like, or anytime that I say anything that he feels like should be great, grand,
Escalated.
you know. But he's that person. He's very like he'll get to me sometimes. I haven't figured out what I'm going to do with him because he'll get to me, and I'm like, I really like the idea of seeing him, but he's like, wait, you know.
You need a doses.
Yeah. Or like kind of like approach me a little instead of like all your full energy. But because I'm not a very excitable person, I don't use those superlatives that way. I'm like most of the time, shit is just all right. And other times it's fucking amazing. And when it gets to that point that it's genuine, I'm there for it. But most of the time, shit is just okay.
You also do a wonderful thing for your mental health. I can't remember who said this, but someone was describing America's mental health crisis at the moment. We describe everything as amazing, and inside we feel shit.
Right.
Because if you don't have that level
Story of my
headedness,
life,
if you're expecting everything in life
I wasn't
to be
expecting this to
incredible,
come from my life.
and it doesn't meet that, it doesn't meet that lofty goal, then suddenly you feel bad because it didn't hit that goal. Whereas if you understand, look, life has some ups and downs, some days are good, some days are bad, some days are just okay, you can be a bit more appreciative.
But imagine if you remove that bar, like where you're like, okay, it's not successful because of this. So that's what I was saying like earlier. Like if you remove that bar, it just is what it is. It's not like, oh my god, it's terrible compared to Joe's thing. It's terrible compared to Phil's thing.
Yeah, I live a kick-ass life, bro.
I mean, even as a performer, I peaked and won a competition quite early in my career, and so then everyone's like, "Oh, you're the queen." I'm like, and now I don't trust people in my community to give me good, honest feedback of my performance because they're like, "Oh my god, it's amazing," and I'm looking at them going, "I know that was shit, and now I don't trust you."
But then again, you are your own worst critic. They don't know what you rehearsed the night before. They don't know what you rehearsed the day of. You know, there's time that I'm really hard on myself when it comes to my acting and my singing, and somebody might have thought, who have never seen me before, thought I was amazing, but that's only because they don't know the best part of me yet.
People who see me all the time.
Well, you know, and again, they still probably think you're just amazing. You could just be breathing and they think you're amazing. Like the guy
Happens to me all the time.
Why? You know what I'm saying? It's weird.
Like
to
the
me
guy
when they say that shit.
The guy you're
though.
but then even with the guy that you're
Soundtrack
talking
to my life.
again, that brings a serious to me. That brings up, no offense to you guys' situation, but it brings up red flags to me about him. And what is he projecting that he's lacking, that he's trying to gain from you get from you?
Yeah.
With him just being so excited and his reaction, so that is. I feel that definitely is.
And when I don't give that,
right, his excitement shouldn't be based on whatever level of your excitement is.
Right, and just that would be definitely an interesting conversation. I wanted to piggyback to you on the fact with the whole value.
Is that the name of this episode?
When you have so much. People are saying so many things, and so you have such beautiful thoughts.
Dude, I love what we've done tonight.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you guys, initially I was very nervous about it because we've never done anything like this.
With this
Some of us have never met each other.
Yeah,
Right.
So I was very nervous. I was kind of anxious.
I know, it's nice. I've never seen him like that.
And even when we started, it was a little like we were kind of all hopping on top of each other, but we found this groove.
Yeah.
And we've all given each other that space to just talk,
which is why I haven't said much during this.
Shut up, Keenan. I'm talking right
Give
now.
everyone space except for Kate.
You do realize that when Keenan finally gets a chance to say something, he's gonna fucking say
Which is coming up because we're getting to our soapbox
Yeah.
talk. I just want Sean to finish his words of award, and then once he finishes that, we're gonna head into our soapbox.
So my word that I would use more is thanks.
Ooh, yes.
And I actually saw my reasoning behind this. I actually saw this on Instagram. It's like it made so much sense to me. And it's when let's say you're late meeting somebody, right? And that person's waiting for you like 15 minutes. You saw this too? Yeah. So it's like instead of saying sorry that I'm late, you say thank you for waiting for me, and it kind of takes the attention off of you and it puts it toward them in a positive light. You know what I mean? So it's like that's why I like that shit. I'm just like, Joe, thanks, man. Thanks for waiting on me, bro. Yo, thanks, man.
Love it.
Thanks for putting me on the pot, bro. Thanks, man.
True. So instead of going directly to Joe,
Yeah.
I'm gonna pass the baton over to Keenan, then me, and then Joe.
It's eating him alive.
You guys can decide so much shit to
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
You actually had a word?
Oh, whoa.
Okay.
Whoa.
Well, Patrick said it could be a phrase. It could be,
Joe's word is hentai.
Hey, what's up? It's bukkake.
No, I just wanted to bring up a moment that me and Philly had where I was trying to say a word and it's now replaced my favorite word, queef, so I don't have to say it anymore. Because I can't say this word. It's so funny to me. That's why I like to be used more often. It was so bad. Like it's when your stomach and like you feel like your abs are hurting because that's how bad
We were
we're
laughing. What was the word?
The word, I don't know if I'm going to say it right, but it's thwart.
We spent over an hour dying of laughter because he sincerely couldn't say thwart.
I can't say thwart.
Thwart as in
He was like, I was like, okay, so say ort. He was like, ort. Wart. Okay, wart. Thwart. And he was like, thwart.
Library.
But when he said it with such confidence.
Yes.
And then realized that he didn't say it right, and we spent
We just laughed.
That was great.
That's my new favorite word.
What's the one you want to use less though?
It's still the same one as last time. I'm still keeping it. It's the word wrong. I don't like the word wrong. I hate it with passion.
Oh, to say you're just wrong, yeah.
Well, say the word to call somebody out that whatever they did or did, that you didn't like was wrong. No, that wasn't,
Filthy?
No, go ahead. I actually haven't prepared shit. So you're gonna go first.
I'll go again.
We just want to dive into it. Okay. The phrase that I want to use more often is fucking A. Fucking A, man.
Fucking A, baby.
Fucking A. Because it's just lovely.
Stop using that.
Oh, I love that shit, man. Fucking A.
More people should use it. Like, oh, some shit happened. Fucking A. That's crazy.
Fucking A.
And your
Fucking
least
A.
favorite word?
My least favorite is retarded.
Yeah, I don't like retarded.
Still
That was gonna be one for me,
retarded.
too.
It hasn't changed. Retarded is the word that I don't like. I don't use it. I used to use it when I was a kid, or into my teenage years, But I think around, I don't know, when I can't pinpoint the exact age that I stopped using it, but I was like, yeah, that's it's not a kind word because there are people who have mental retardation, who have Down syndrome, who have so to me the word retarded is just doesn't taste good.
I'm an asshole.
All right. And with that, we have our.
Describe it asshole several
Because you
times.
said you
Definitely didn't give it any thought. But what I will say is that I would like to see people use the word courage differently. So I don't know if I would like to see it more or less, but definitely differently, or at all, really, because it takes courage to do a lot of things. And until you access the word and really make it a lot like Patrick, I agree that words really do fundamentally create a thought and action, a mood, a tone, and to be alive takes courage. To wake up, to leave your bed, to to brush your teeth and face the world and get ready for whatever comes. It takes courage. It takes just as much courage to sit there and take a punch across the chin from life when shit doesn't go well, when people who you thought were going to love you don't love you, when all else, just have courage to stay in the moment. You know, I really feel like, I guess, judging from what I'm saying, I want to see that used more.
So would you prefer come from a place of abundance versus a place of lacking, is what you're generally saying?
If you understand that way, yeah, sure. For
I'm
me,
getting
Super deja vu right now. Like,
You are? Like,
Yeah.
you dreamt this or it actually happened?
Yeah.
I
this is
definitely-
dope. This is super dope.
I definitely
Fucking A.
courage.
Fucking A, man.
Fucking A.
Fucking A.
Being again the idea of courage where you're afraid that maybe if you're completely yourself, people won't accept that. You have to have the courage to be yourself and accept that not everybody's going to like you, et cetera, right? So the word I'd probably like to see used less, or the idea is similar to fear, but more about the I'm not sure. It's okay.
Uncertainty.
Yeah, uncertainty is definitely the
does that work?
idea. Yeah, it's the idea. For me, it's for
The
me
concept of
that is definitely something, because I believe that all of us are uncertain, and by just nature. The point is to move from that as soon as possible into either complete doubt, and then that's fine, and you just don't want to deal with it. Cool, but you made a decision. You know what I mean? You cut away from, because there's a lot of people that just stay in the I don't know, and because of that go nowhere ever and delay things longer than they have to be delayed. So just being uncertain is fine, great, acknowledge it, and now move on. So I'd like to see people make more mistakes, take more action, and realize, well, shit, that wasn't what I wanted to do. Like, I had no idea where I was going to go with this, but I took it anyways, and hope that something there was going to at least work in my favor, to where I could spark some kind of value. Spark some kind of moment where people go, shit, okay, well, that was great. Or not, and be okay with the fact that it wasn't, and say, cool, I guess that wasn't the way. Maybe next time I'll know.
Well, wouldn't you think that maybe fear needs to be talked about more then? I feel like we relate to fear the way we're kind of, like, I was raised with fear-based tactics. Like, that's how I kind of was growing up. You don't do this because it's gonna happen. You know,
Like a lot of
my parents were very
Hispanic
heavy,
families.
Exactly. Like, I was very heavy Catholic. Went to Catholic high school and all that stuff. Dude, I don't go to church at all anymore. Like, and it's all because I'm so against that fear. Like, if you don't go to church, you're going to fucking hell. Well, fuck it. Mark up
Something now?
You set up a spot for me right there.
I got a first class ticket to hell.
But the thing is that as a parent, though, I feel like I do push that on my kids more, just because of the fear that I feel for them. Like, that's what I was going to ask you, is like, as a dad, do you feel like you kind of push a lot of your fears on your kids? Like, even unknowingly at times? Because I do tell my kids, like, don't, so what? If you're scared, just push through it. Being scared is a fucking emotion. You just got to push through it.
You have.
See, I love dad, so
People way about that.
Mom.
Well, I
try not to.
They're more
I don't
Yeah.
push my fears on my children.
But see, fear is a type of emotion, push through it. Fear is also there to give you cautious.
Or courageous. Courageousness.
No, I said to give you courage. You said.
Or to give you courage, or
an
to be
indicator.
it's like an indication. You don't want your child to be in a situation where they are fearful for something, and because they have to push through it, they're not listening to their indicators that I need to get the fuck out of here.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's a very thin line of where the fear comes from, as opposed to your feeling and the reality of what's happening. So fear of doubt, fear of not knowing of something, positive or whatever the case may be, is something that you can push through, because you won't know what's on the other side of that fear. But if you're in a space where you're uncomfortable and there's a sense of fear, you don't want your child to be like, oh, okay. And I'm not saying that's what you're doing. I'm just saying in general. Yeah. I'm just saying in general, I'm sure that's a very thin line topic. Like, you still want them to have some type of awareness. Like, don't fear, but if a stranger comes to talk to you and you don't know this person, they're offering you candy, know to not.
Right, don't be crippled or paralyzed by fear.
Right, yeah.
You were gonna say something?
In essence.
Well, I think, Phil, you said a few different, you said you were talking about the uncertainty. And uncertainty is different from fear. And I think maybe you said you didn't know exactly what word you're looking for. And I think maybe it's anxiety that you might want people to use. From what you described, it just sounds like people using anxiety as like this catch-all way of getting out of any sort of responsibility.
Yeah, for personal responsibility.
Yeah, or even like I'm gonna move forward, I'm gonna whatever, and I see a lot of, especially fucking millennials, sorry I'm old and grumpy, but I'm like, what they're experiencing anxiety, but they're letting it paralyze them and also be an excuse.
Yeah.
For everything in their life, and I think maybe you might be
That's
looking
definitely
for
what I was going.
Sean feels
anxiety
attacked.
because uncertainty. If you can take that feeling of anxiety that makes you and say, well, I'm really uncertain about what I want to do, and if you say uncertainty, that puts a name and an action to what you want to accomplish, like that fear, because uncertainty can also come along with fear. Fear can be paralyzing, but if you realize that fear is uncertainty, then you can go, okay, well, let me find a way to be certain of what I ought to do.
Sure, yeah.
It's unknown. Like, I mean, because you have the reality and you have the unknown. What are you fearing of something that you don't really know? Like, you don't know that it's gonna happen, so why have a fear of that? So that's definitely
my kid has a phobia for food. And I tell him, just in general, like he has things that he likes specifically, but everything else he's like, I don't want that. And I'm like, how do you know you don't want that? You never had it.
Right.
So
17-year-old still does that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how I feel about planes. I still have anxiety with flying. The idea of a full thing holding human beings in the air is just, I can't grasp. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's weird as fuck, and they even put a parachute on the plane.
I'm the opposite. I literally watch like 4 episodes of Air Crash Investigations before getting on a flight, because I don't know, there is something cathartic about like not being in control. I love those moments where you just go, look, what'll be, will be.
Wait till you're in this.
I was flying back.
Jack.
Yeah, I was flying back from Atlanta last week, and it was the most turbulent ride I've ever had in my life. And I've been on a plane, I can't tell you how many times, but flying back from Atlanta, like the turbulence was just, it was crazy. And at some point, I was like, well, fuck it, whatever happens, happens.
But have you ever flown on Spirit Airlines in the middle of a hurricane?
No, absolutely not.
And had them clap.
Who flies Spirit? What the fuck? I clapped. Actually, I clapped.
I was like, never again.
Yes, I clapped.
That is horrible.
I've clapped
2 years
before.
ago in Texas, when that big hurricane hit, we landed the day that hurricane hit in Texas. And when we landed, everybody was like, and we were like,
I'm sorry.
never.
That is bad.
What? Yeah, this is supposed to happen, right?
That's crazy.
Yeah, Spirit pilots really need all the
Need all the confidence. They're like ragged old Vietnam War vet fucking pilots.
I say that because I love the difference between the fear and anxiety aspect of it all. Because at the same time, I may have anxiety as fuck getting on the plane. I still flew to Uganda like a year or two ago, which was a 15-hour flight.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? I didn't let that anxiety or fear stop me. Because I don't
That's
know.
because you already dropped a shitload of money. So you're like, I gotta get on this plane. And with that.
Oh, wait.
Oh, sorry.
It didn't even come to me.
Oh, shit, Pat. I'm sorry. Oh, shit. I'm so sorry. And when that hit you back, I'm sorry. I honestly, you know what's funny is that I couldn't remember whether or not you did it. So I was like, it's assuming, well, he explained it. So yeah, he might have done it.
It's fine.
No, hit us with it. Did that happen last time? He's like, it's my own series, but I don't need a word. Go ahead, Pat. Go ahead.
Now I feel like Keenan in every episode of this podcast.
You have no idea what it feels like. Wow.
Victim card over here.
See what I mean?
See,
All right, Pat, go ahead. Introduce your word.
All right, my word that I want people to use more of, and it's more a concept rather than the word, because the word does get overused. However, it's a concept that's important to me. It's aware and being self-aware. I know a lot, and this has kind of been bastardized by a lot of Instagram influencers who are like, you know, be yourself, be authentic, be aware, whatever. And they're just not. They're just not showing up. Having said that, I think taking the time to understand what motivates you, what drives you, what you want out of life, and then pursuing that. And then also understanding like how you come across to people, how, you know, maybe when someone is mean to you, maybe they're just a bad person, but maybe more often they've had a bad day or something else is going on in their life, and just being willing to show some compassion rather than allow that first emotional trigger to like make you lash out at the other person. I know that like every time I like when I have a conversation with anyone, I always say there's like two sides of me. There's the side, like even right now, there's the side that's having the conversation with you guys right now. And then there's a third party, Patrick, that is just sort of like watching this moment and seeing how this plays out. And that sort of practice, I hesitate to call it meditation, but people have said to me it is a sort of meditation.
It is a sort
practice.
of meditation.
It just allows me to not instantly react, to see people for as they are and try and bridge those gaps between us.
A buffer, if you will.
Yeah, create that community rather than being like, no, I'm just going to keep myself to myself and I'm going to keep you all at arm's distance. And then the word that I want people to use less of, same thing as last time, just.
Yeah.
Just is a really sinister word, and I mean it in the sense of when people send like emails to each other and they say things like, just wanted to get your feedback, or I just wanted to follow up. And when you use it in that particular way, it is what's known as a passive qualifier, and it makes you sound less sure of yourself and less confident. And one of the biggest things that I try and tell everyone is that you are an expert in something, right? You are an expert in some facet that you have knowledge that could be shared with a lot of other people, but you're crippling yourself by using words that make you sound less confident when you know your stuff, like you know about this particular area. So sell people on that, be confident, because when you do that, you will see the response that people give you. And that is a powerful thing, it is a beautiful thing. And if we were all doing that, we'd really make the world just that slightly bit better.
Fucking A.
I love that.
It's funny because like I stopped using
Me too.
just.
I don't use that in my
because of
emails
that.
in Texas.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we've gotten to our soapbox
delete
time.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Totally.
We've got to the soapbox portion of our podcast.
Yeah, it's going to be a
Our
long
lovely
soapbox
podcast.
section.
No, but okay, so for those of you who are unaware, which none of you are because you've already been on this show, the soapbox is where you get a moment to speak or say anything that you want to say. We're going to try to keep it brief though, and without interruption, because lately we've been interrupting. So we're going to start with Sean, since we started on that side. So we're going to start with Sean. Sean, give us your soapbox.
First of all, I'm gonna take like half an hour.
He's like, no, I'm serious.
I'm just kidding, dude. Yeah, just nice and simple, man. Just, you know, love one another, right? You know, genuinely, right? You know, be kind to people around you and stuff. Be open to things, because you never know what good things will come from that, right? And yeah, man, just don't step on people's toes, yo. Yeah, it's Keenan talks about this a lot, but you know, cock blocking ass motherfuckers, man. You know what? I'm gonna have a soapbox about this today. We're gonna talk about this today. Fucking cock blocking ass stay in your motherfucking lane. Stay in your motherfucking lane. All right, that's all I gotta say about that.
I hear you say.
I'm gonna deal with that lately, Keenan. I feel you, man. Respect.
I love it.
All right, I'm done.
Wow.
That's my half an hour.
Thank you. Marcus.
I I don't really have one.
Oh, Philly's
But what I'm saying is, live life without limitations. Touching back on equality. Stop playing the comparison game and live life beyond the means of which you think your limits are and shoot past those. Boom. Skadoosh, I'm out, bitch.
Yes.
Somebody watch Kung Fu Panda.
Very good.
Thank you very much for
Ray.
your time. It is
Ray Day.
It's been a new podcast.
Oh yeah, we're skipping the host. Yeah.
Damn. Fuck, I had something too.
He was ready for his soapbox too.
Soapbox. I would say, I don't even know what to say.
So
We
start there.
have two Phillies on.
There was something else to say. Just realize that whatever you say creates a reality. So no matter what you say, like we touched on it a couple times, and I did want to say it earlier, but like, we say what we say, but we don't realize that it does create a reality. So when we're being like insecure, when we're being whatever we're being at the time, it does create the reality you live in, So it's like, that's why I was saying it earlier. Like, yeah, it's great to be for equality and all that stuff, but it's like when you're living that and you're like consumed by it, you're too busy being consumed by it to really see that, you're maybe a little far off at that point. But that's what I would say.
Dope.
I like that.
No pressure.
I'm just glad I set the bar really low
Where's the
for
mic?
everybody.
Is that right?
Drop the tridents.
I don't know how I'm gonna be back, but anyways. First I want to say thank you guys for having us.
Seriously.
Seriously, like, this is, as much as we were a guest to you guys, this is very therapeutic to me. I would say it's just decompressing. Just, you don't get to do this very often, have conversations where it's no rules, no boundaries, no nothing. You just get to be yourself, talk, and I feel like this was just amazing in that sense, especially since I'm just meeting everybody for the first time. And I'm a very energy person, so I'm feeling all the awesome energy in this room. It's just amazing. You guys wish you were here. I'm just like, maybe it's the rosé.
But it's all right.
You feel me? I was looking at the percent too. I was like, which one has the most? So I was like, okay, these two are good. But I also want to say, continue being kind in this world. You mentioned I think it was you, Ray, who mentioned earlier about kindness and how people are not aware of being kind anymore and like, oh, they're taken aback by it. But I literally had a moment today before I came here where I went to go grab a pizza downstairs at Fresh Brothers, and the manager there, he gave me like Fresh Brothers. He gave me a slice of pizza on his discount, and he said no, because I work at Trader Joe's upstairs, blah blah. And I've been giving him discounts, but he mentioned that he wasn't feeling well, and and he has to work a long shift, and I was like, okay. I was like, well, you get a ginger shot, this, that, and the other, and he's like, yeah, I think I'm just gonna grab one at Body Energy down the street, whatever. And I was like, okay, cool. So I'm on my way to leave to come here, and I was like, Body Energy's right there. Let me just go grab a ginger shot for him and give it to him, And I went back to give it to him, and he was like, whoa, like. That's good. I mean, because in my mind, literally, I told myself it takes only 2 seconds to do something kind for somebody. I wasn't expecting anything back. I really appreciate the fact that, he's always been so kind, just in general as a person. So I was like, hey, here's a ginger shot. Feel better. You got, things you got to do. What do they call it? When I'm trying to say the word, I can't get the word out right now, but.
Ask Patrick. He's a word.
When you have to do inventory.
Thanks, Patrick.
Yeah, so you have to stay late that night. And I was like, it takes 2 seconds, and I didn't think twice about it. And that was just, it was on my heart, and I left, and I just thought that was really cool. So just be kind. It's okay to be kind and not be worried or scared about it. Like just little stuff like that.
I think the biggest testament to what you said is. Sorry. I had to say this, but it's just like, doing something and, out of kindness and not expecting anything back.
Right.
That's like the ultimate form of, being a genuine person, in my opinion. So
Yeah.
kudos.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sean.
Yeah.
And you usually get the most back in those scenarios. Like,
Yeah, you know what I
We're breaking all the rules, guys. There's not supposed to be any feedback.
Hey, I said live life without limits, damn it. So let them live, damn.
We're taking over this podcast.
hey, moving on. You guys want to wrap up and go?
mean? Joe just wants to go home, dog.
Last time.
It's great. It's great that there's rules, but
I know.
Stop creating such a great atmosphere.
yeah.
we should be dicks.
This is a consequence of beautiful
Yes.
people coming together.
So Sheila,
My heart's like, oh, there are people like me out there.
Yes.
Oh. Okay. Halloween. Parents, stop being so fucking lame. It's Halloween. Let your kids go trick-or-treating on Halloween night. Please stop doing the weekend at whatever fall like, sure, you can do that, but also trick-or-treat and tell your fucking kids to say trick-or-treat.
Go fuck some shit.
Like someone's about to hand them some free candy. Instead of like, give me, and not even saying thank you when they leave or any, but also let your kids trick or treat on Halloween night, because like we end up with a shit ton of candy left over because no kids come.
Oh, which none of us are Snickers. None of us Snickers.
I will take all the Whoppers and take them to my sister.
I don't think
And I will give her all the Whoppers and let her take them to her sister.
That's
Yeah,
it. Yeah,
thank
no,
you.
be better on Halloween, parents. Like, it's all right for your kids to stay out till it's a Halloween. That's the point. Let them stay up late, eat candy, and crash and be zombies at school the next day. That's what Halloween is about.
get chocolate wasted.
Sir
Stop
Patrick.
being lame.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
so
I feel
yeah.
like she's talking to me.
Coming from my life.
Feel attacked.
This was a terrible help.
Patrick soapbox.
I could follow suit and like say something meaningful, insightful, use some words. However, I'm a marketer at heart, so I'm gonna just do a self-plug.
Nice.
But I'm gonna do this for if you've enjoyed this conversation, if you've felt the community that I certainly feel, knowing Keenan, Philly, and Joe, but also meeting all you wonderful people tonight. If you in any way vibe with that, then I encourage you to come to the free event that I'm running November 14th, LinkedIn Local, LA. We have a fabulous guest speaker coming in from Utah by way of Texas, who is a international speaker, he's a minimalist author, and most importantly, he's a mental health advocate. He suffered, by the name of Jake Milton, he suffers from Tourette's and yet didn't let that hold him back, and is a corporate speaker as a result. I'm really excited for him to come, so if you want to come to that event, it will be at Spaces Fairfax, which is a co-working space starting at 6:30. If you type in LinkedIn Local LA, and you'll find it on Eventbrite, November 14th.
Where do we follow you for this?
You can follow me on LinkedIn and you'll find it there. So linkedin.com/IN/Patrick James Ward.
Nice.
Fuck. He
And it's
did it.
free. It's
He
free.
did it.
It's just all about the community. That
He
is
did
all
it.
it's all
Look at us, guys. We're doing great.
Look at us. Look at us.
Look at us.
You would. I would have thought. I would have never thought. Who would have thought?
Okay, so my soapbox is I did take a shower. So yeah, right? I took
I
a
knew it
shower.
smelled like Axe in here. I knew it.
No Axe, just deodorant, all natural ocean spice or whatever it's called, Old Spice.
Oh.
And
Spice.
yeah, Ocean Spice. No, yeah. So I did that. You're all welcome. And I just encourage all of you listeners and the people here on the show to please promote and advertise, help us out. Tell your friends, tell your coworkers, tell your family, tell the homeless man you give some money to. They have Obama phones, so they can listen to our podcast or something.
That's true. Untapped market. Untapped market.
So that's my soapbox. Please promote for us. Spread the word as best you can. Even if you only listen to 1 or 2 episodes, just tell somebody, hey, I just heard something crazy, or I was just on the show. Please listen. Check us out. We're on everywhere. And we're on YouTube. Season 2 is going to be posted up. Soapbox is going to be posted up. And season 3 will be coming soon.
New bitch!
Filthy animal.
Okay.
Don't, motherfucker, you better not. Don't even have anything planned.
Yes, so
I don't have anything planned.
it's his gimmick.
I didn't even think of anything, but
Proceeds for 45 minutes.
Then he comes in with the deepest philosophical motherfucker.
Look at him blushing right now. Look at him. Look at him.
Yeah, that's filthy animal.
I just heard the seductive voice is about to introduce our listeners.
Can I get a monologue? Like, just let me,
if
please.
you can't see his eyebrows, it's not nearly as effective.
Okay.
Just say it, Philly. Just say it. We know you're going to say it.
I think I want to bring the night home, at least as far as my turn goes, and say that given how much human connection has been the subject of our conversation tonight, that I want to encourage not only the people who are here, but also the listeners to think really hard about somebody that you know you fucking care about, but haven't reached out to in a long time. And just give them a fucking call or set up a coffee. Go out of your way on this one. Don't wait for them. Go out of your fucking way and do it. And don't tell anybody else about it. Don't just do it for you. Just do it for the fact that you love this fucking person or that you care about them at all. Just do that. That's all I want to say, because human connection is something that is a two-way street. And don't wait for that shit to come to you, you know?
Fucking A.
Fucking A.
Fucking A, dude.
Fucking A.
Fucking A.
Jeez, Louises.
This is about bullshit.
Bring it
Marcus, you're my fucking target, motherfucker. You so my ass. No, that was great, Phil. That was great.
Good job,
and that, I'm pretty sure, like everyone else, it sparked something like, yo, I should probably reach out to this person. No, you fucked up. You fucked up. Mine's gonna be. It's not gonna be fast. Sorry.
fuck you.
I want to thank you guys for coming out tonight. None of us knew what we were gonna be diving into, and the fact that you guys were able to come out and join us and give us your perspective on life. Just brought a smile to my face. It brought a smile to my heart. This is beyond anything that I ever expected. This podcast is beyond anything I've ever expected. Like, we came in just 2 guys with an idea, 2 guys just trying to spit some dumb stuff that we had in our minds, and it's transformed into something that people actually listen to. It's transformed.
I like that.
I'm not.
I see it. He pointed to me. I did
It's
not say
transformed.
anything.
Keenan, shut the fuck
Philly
up.
pointed
It was 2 guys because Philly and I started.
Well, you don't play video games.
But
I didn't say shit.
yeah, we don't play video games
No
anymore.
video
But
games.
it's transformed into something amazing, something that people actually listen to, something that we actually get approached. Like, random people come up to us like, yo, I listen to your stuff. It's fucking great. So, I mean, my heart is full, and I want to thank you guys. My fucking Warriors are doing horrible, but, you know, I still love them. We have a fucking, we have starters that nobody even knows. I'm just devastated, but at the same time, I'm so happy that we're able to do this. What's that?
Nothing.
No, but again, I'm so happy that you guys came out. Shut the fuck up.
Lakers.
So, I want to thank you guys for coming out. You guys, we're at a record tonight. We're at 3 hours and 30 minutes into the podcast. This is a new personal record for us, and it didn't even feel like it because you guys were phenomenal.
Wait, we're not going to 5 hours?
I thought we were going to 5 hours. That was the plan. Yeah, I thought we were doing the endurance one,
but you know, it naturally came to a conclusion, which makes me really happy. This is not the last time that we will have you guys on because we love y'all. I can't say the same for the other guests that didn't.
Oh my god.
No, you know, and there were a couple people who dropped out.
Ooh, so
fuck
fuck
them.
them. Yeah, for sure.
But again, thank you guys so much. I hope you guys enjoyed the drinks. I hope you guys enjoyed the finger foods. I hope the listeners enjoyed this because there's going to be a lot more coming, and we have a lot more to talk about. We have a lot more to show you guys. NOOB has grown into something that's beyond us. And I hope that you guys will take whatever you take away from this. And I really do hope that you guys come back if we ever do it, which we will, when we invite you guys back on, because you guys did a phenomenal job. Nobody take Marcus's candies because they're laced.
There's razor blades in there. Don't take it.
Marcus, you know what was laced? Your fucking beard. That's what they got. Fuck out of here.
This has been episode 50 of the None of Our. This podcast. Hey, 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 hey,
Motherfuckers wanna talk about what they got. Motherfuckers wanna talk about what they got. But I'ma tell you right now, no curse words. The word with the word is the word is the word. Can you even hear what I'm saying? Can you hear what we are saying? Well, if you do, you gotta understand it's none of your motherfucking business. That cannot get your hands up.
Hey, boom. Eat your woman out.
Suck your man's dick.
I eat ass. Sheila and Philip.
I told you.
She just stole your campaign, bro.
She initiated it.
Did you just Kanye West my Taylor Swift moment?
Kind of sounds like she did, man.
Yeah, it's pretty much that.
Season 3
Coming soon.
coming December.
Hey.